something that would require you to visit with our municipal judge. So we're pretty fortunate in Newcastle. We have a lot of people that have been with the city for a long, long time, and Kyle's definitely one of those. He has served as our city judge for 25 years, which is almost unheard of. So, Kyle, we appreciate your service to the city, and thank you for everything. You've been here to see us come from something very small to something that's getting incredibly large. So, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I appreciate the city.
Kyle, thank you very much. I appreciate you.
So glad I don't know him. Wouldn't know him from Adam. Yes.
Never had the opportunity.
Never had the opportunity. Knock on wood.
All right. So piggyback on that, we've got another special presentation this evening. If I could get Lieutenant James Ingram to come forward. And you probably see him around. Hopefully you haven't seen him too up close.
We work together.
But kind of like I said, it's really odd, especially for a community our size, to have people who have served for this length of time. So Lieutenant Ingram has been with us for 25 years as well. So we're very fortunate to have people that dedicate their career basically to the city of Newcastle. We appreciate you very much. Yes. Oh, sorry.
Okay. You're breaking. Break it up for me.
All right. If everyone will rise, we'll have our opening prayer and flag salute.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we do acknowledge you as our Lord and Savior, and we are so thankful for your many blessings. Thank you for people who serve our city and serve their community and serve our country. These tonight, dear Father, for the length of time, but also for all who serve. We pray your blessings now upon our session tonight, our meeting. I pray, dear Lord, you'll give us insight and good judgment, dear Lord, that we'll make decisions that are in the best interest of our city. In Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time I'll call the August 12th, 2024 meeting of the Newcastle Public Works Authority to order. First item on the agenda is roll call.
Carl Nell.
Here.
Mike Fullerton.
Here.
Jean Reed.
Here.
Kimberly Sutton. Here. Marcy White.
Here.
Oh, roll.
We all do.
Mine's off. Weird.
Item number 2, discussion and possible action on approval of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion second for approval of the agenda.
Marcy White.
Yes.
Kimberly Sutton.
Yes.
Jean Reed.
Yes.
Mike Fullerton.
Yes.
Carl Nell.
Yes. Item number 3, citizens' comments. This is an opportunity for any citizen to comment on any matter related to the City of Newcastle Public Works that is not on the agenda. Might remind any potential speakers that all speakers shall clearly state their name and address for the record. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person with only one speaking opportunity. Board members will not respond to comments or questions. The chair may end comment period at his discretion, and prior authorization is required for distribution of materials or to approach the board. This time is a public comment concerning the City of Newcastle Public Works. All right, seeing none, item number 4. Is there any member of the authority that requests any item be removed from the consent agenda and addressed individually? All right, item number 4, consent agenda, and I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda, modifying item 4H to $4,481.32 and deleting item 4K.
Second.
Motion second for approval of the consent agenda as amended.
Sutton.
Yes.
Marcy White.
Yes.
Jean Reed.
Yes.
Mike Fullerton.
Yes.
Carl Nell.
Yes. Item number 5, discussion of possible action on any items removed from the consent agenda. Be no action on that agenda item. Item number 6, presentation of fiscal year 2022, 2023 independent audit report. Chris Heim, HBC CPAs and advisors.
Not Chris Slack, but I would. Hello, my name is Tamara Burton. I work with Chris Heim at HBC CPAs. Chris couldn't be here tonight due to another prior commitment, but he is the audit lead and partner in charge of the audit. I want to start by thanking the council for engaging us to be auditors, and for Jeannie and her team. You guys are amazing. We love working with you. You make everything go so smoothly. Not all of our audits are like that, so we do appreciate that. So, yes, thank you. If you guys, I don't know if everybody has a copy of the financial statements. I believe the PDF page number, if you're on the computer, is page 6. If you have the PDF copy, it would be page 5, like the paper copy. But I'm going to briefly go over the auditor's report. So on page 5, I'm just going to go over the first 2 paragraphs. So the first paragraph of our report just says what we audited. So we audited the financial statements, and it includes the governmental activities, the business, the component units, the major fund, the notes to the financial statements. The second paragraph, I will read part of it. It says, in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly, in all material respects, the respective modified cash basis financial position of the governmental activities, business type, and all the things I mentioned. So that's kind of audit speak for a clean opinion. So we did have a clean opinion this year, and that's the highest opinion we can give on the financial statements. It just means simply that the numbers can be relied upon. There are no material misstatements that we found in our audit. Okay, so if we go to page 10. So page 10 is the financial highlights, I believe. There's 3 bullet points. Is that page 10 for you guys? Okay, I'm one off, so I just wanted to check. So just really briefly, those 3 bullet points just talk about the net position. So the city's total net position increased by 8.4 million. So the assets exceeded the liabilities by 48 million. And of that amount, 16.3 million is unrestricted, meaning it's not tied up in grants, or, sometimes grants have to be used for certain things, or there's money set aside for specific reasons and projects. So the unrestricted, in the general fund, the 3rd bullet point, the general fund, we had about 2.5 million unrestricted, or 24%. So that's a pretty good number. We like the 10% to 40% range, so you guys are right in the middle. So that's a pretty healthy fund balance. Anything below, really probably 15%, just means you may not have enough funds to spend, and anything above 40 usually means you're not spending money on projects. So that's a really good number. If we go to page 22, that's just the number I was talking about in the general fund. The column to the left is the 2.5 million unassigned, almost towards the bottom. And the next page shows total revenues of the general fund being 10 million. Total government funds was about 13 million. So really good numbers. And then page 25 is the proprietary funds. So this would be like the utility accounts. I'm sorry, it might be 26. I should have wrote the other numbers on this. But the total assets, all the way to the right, kind of in the middle, is 25 million. And of that, 8.4 is unrestricted. So I'm actually going to go all the way to page 53. So from this page to about page 53 is just so many details about those numbers, breakdowns of the assets, the debt, the pensions. So if you want more detail, you can read over that. But page 53 is the second report we issue with the financial statement. So this is a report on internal control. So we don't give an opinion on internal control, but we are required to report on any deficiencies we find in internal control or compliance. So the last 2 paragraphs, and I believe it's 54 actually, of that page talks about we didn't find any deficiencies in internal control And then the last paragraph says, we found no deficiencies in compliance. So no findings of anything. And then very briefly, the last report I want to go over is the single audit. It's just 2 pages down. And so the single audit was required this year. It's basically an audit over the federal funds. You guys are probably familiar with that. If the city, spends so much of federal funds, we have to do a compliance audit saying you guys complied with the grant agreements. So the first 2 paragraphs, much like the auditor's report, the first paragraph just says, we did this, the reports on compliance, and we did it according to the auditing standards and the federal government standards. The second paragraph says, in our opinion, the city of Newcastle, Oklahoma complied in all material respects with the types of compliance requirements referred to above that could have a direct and material effect on each of its major federal programs. So again, that's a clean opinion. We had no findings on the single audit. And then the last few pages are just details of the grants and the federal audit programs. So does anybody have any questions? All right, thank you guys again.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Tanner.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 7, discussion of possible action on adjustment of utility accounts. Item number 7A, account number 07-4200-00 at service address of 4200 Southeast 35th Street, James W. Bailey. Mr. Bailey, our representative here this evening.
Good evening,
Evening.
James Bailey. So we had a water line break. We're about 400 yards from the end of the Newcastle service into our property. And so we installed that about 5 years ago and got a meter. So they put a 3-inch line in to keep pressure up. Well, in an area that we don't see a lot, we had a 3-inch ball valve split right lengthways down the middle. So the repair was done on the 17th. I see the end of the reading for 5/16. We used 61,000 in that period. The next period, 315,000 gallons, and 17th was the day we got it repaired. So I paid the previous bill at 502. This one was $2,445, and so we were seeing if we could seek a little relief somehow.
So when you repaired it the 17th of May?
The 17th of May was the repair date. The 6/17 was when, 5/17 was the repair date. So it was the billing, it kind of split. It busted before the end of the read, and then it went on for a while before we got it yet. So we're using, it's been around $200 a month, and that previous month right before the repair with the end of the read, it was 500 and some, which we paid. Then the next one, I thought, well, we got it. So then in the next month, that's not terrible. Then the next one came and it was 2,400. So prompted me to see if we could get some relief on it. The repairs have been made. The plumber thought it was a defective valve.
The July billing is also fairly high with 86,000.
Excuse me?
The July billing is also fairly high with 86,000.
Yeah, and that was a refill of a swimming pool. It was drained and was replastered, and so we totally expected that. We
Very
got
good.
all the leaks repaired.
All right, then I will make a motion to adjust the May and the June utility bills to the average of the prior 12 months. Motion second for adjustment of utility account.
Second, I'm sorry.
Me.
Dean Reed,
Yes.
Kimberly Sutton,
Yes.
Marcy White,
Yes.
Mike Fullerton.
Yes.
Carl Miller.
Yes. Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you. I
Bowman.
appreciate it very much.
Have a good evening. Item number 7B, account number 06-2108-00 at service address of 2137 Blackberry Run Lane, Clifton, Briscoe.
Clifton, Briscoe. Address is 2137 Blackberry Run. I'm here to request a balance adjustment to our water bill. We noticed that we had a higher water bill than usual. Once we noticed that water bill, we At the time, didn't know we had a water leak on our property line. And then once I found out, went to Home Depot and got the repairs needed to replace a yard hydrant. So kind of like make an adjustment to our water bill.
When did you make those repairs, Mr. Briscoe?
I made the repairs on 7/28. I believe we got the bill on 7/27, the day before. So once I found out that we had a high water bill, went around the property line on the property to find out if we had a possible leak. Found out we did.
It's more than likely that your August bill will also reflect a higher than normal usage based on when billing was and when you made the repair. You did make the repair after the July bill was read. So I will make a motion to adjust the July and August bills for this utility account to the average of the prior 12 months.
Second.
Motion second for adjustment of utility account.
Carolyn Sutton,
Yes.
Marcy White,
Yes.
Mike Fullerton,
Yes.
Gene Reed.
Yes.
Carl Newman.
Yes. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Item number 7C, account number 01-1003-00, the service address of 418 Northwest 10th Street, 4th and 5th Building, Newcastle School. There we go. We're gonna make a motion that we want to table this to the next
Continue
meeting?
to next.
Okay. Make a motion to continue this item to our next regular scheduled meeting.
Second.
Motion second for continuance.
Sutton,
Yes.
Mike Fullerton,
Yes.
Gene Reed.
Yes.
Marcy White.
Yes.
Carl Newman.
Yes. Item number 7D, account number 02-1099-00, service address 1408 Northwest 36th Street, Terry and Megan Robb. Triple?
Yeah, our bill, it quadrupled or finally, it went from 119 to 900, somewhere around. We used to run irrigation there all the time. The bill used to be that high years ago. We hadn't run it forever. It got super dry. We turned it on one night, turned it back off, and we got a really high bill. So I called a leak detect out and we turned the valve off to the irrigation. House is all good, but tremendously sorry for.
What's that? When did you make the repairs?
I didn't repair the irrigation yet. I just got the valve completely shut off to the irrigation.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have no plans of running the irrigation until it is repaired, but it's not leaking. We had it pressure tested the rest of the house and all the problems good.
Okay, and when did you shut that off?
Uh,
Do you have a date on that?
what day was that? What day? July.
July 25th, so that once again is after our billing date, so
Okay.
so I will make a motion, we adjust the utility bill for the July and August billing cycles to the average of the prior 12 months.
Second.
Motion second for adjustment of utility account.
Mike Fullerton,
Yes.
Gene Reed.
Yes.
Yes.
Marcy White.
Yes.
Carl Newman.
Yes. Thanks, sir. Have a good evening. Item number 8, discussion and possible action regarding access to city water at 1850 North. I'm sorry, E, that's D, sorry. Item 7E, account number 07-2163-00, and service address of 24 Walnut Hill, Mark Wyman. Anything more on? Okay, here goes.
We had a water leak on our irrigation system, our lawn sprinklers. My son and I found it Thursday. We didn't think it was much because there wasn't that much water coming out. Friday, we tried to call a sprinkler guy, and the best I could do was Monday. So he came in Monday and found the main leak, and the water had run under the driveway, so we didn't see it. And he repaired it on the 15th.
15th of July.
Yes.
Okay.
And I had a bill for $700. That's normally not that much.
No, it doesn't look like it. I'll make a motion that we adjust the July bill to the average prior 12 months.
Second.
Motion second for adjustment utility account.
Marcy White.
Yes.
Gene Reed.
Yes.
Mike Fullerton,
Yes.
Kimberly Sutton,
Yes.
Carl.
Yes. All right, thanks, sir.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening. Item number 8, discussion and possible action regarding access to city water at 1850 Northwest 8th Street. Jason and Julie Patrick.
Hello, good evening, Julie Patrick. I'm looking to pay a city water bill. We are building at 1850 Northwest 8th. We have been in the process for about a year now. Early on in our build, our builder did the due diligence, looked up the city ordinances, statutes, worked closely with the city water department. Became very familiar with statute 5202 that states if you're within 1,320 feet of municipal water line, you're required to access the city water. We are within 1,000 feet of that. So we were recently within in the June timeframe, our builder worked closely with Kevin and planning and zoning just to kind of revisit, make sure everything was good to go because we're now at that time where we need water. Got it all approved. We did the PIN survey, got that ready to go. It sounds like to my knowledge, there is another realtor in the area on one of the 15 acres that has raised concern and kind of threw up red flags with the city and with our builder. So he halted and called the city and then was told different information after we've already been approved. So really just kind of leaning in on the black and white statute that we are in the access to that city water and we're ready to move forward. So we've already paid for the survey. We've got everything ready to go and we were on down the river until we were halted. So I'm just here looking for approval to move forward with access to the city water on our property.
All right. We'll probably have you come back up, or you could stay right. Man, we'll probably have you come back up, Julie. This is a little bit special situation because of the way this developer developed the property and some stipulations that were put on the property when it was approved to be subdivided. And I'll let Kevin and Janae kind of go in there. So the developer, since he did not do the development properly, he agreed to some things that were more restrictive than our statutes. And so I will let Kevin.
So basically, this property, this property was, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Janae, a 60-acre tract to begin with, and the property owner of that 60-acre tract contracted with an individual to lay this property out and subdivide it. When it was done, it was divided into 2 15-acre tracts and 6 5-acre tracts. It was then basically taken to the county and filed of record. However, it was not platted through the city. Anytime you divide a piece of property over 3 different times, it has to be platted with the city. You have to bring in water, you have to bring in roads, things of that nature. But that was not ever done. So this had come to the city's attention when they came in for one of the building permits, I believe. And we immediately contacted the property owner and said, well, time out. We need to discuss this because there are a lot of steps that have to be taken if you want to split this property up 8 different ways. Okay? So the short and long of this is getting down to what was agreed upon between that developer's attorney and the city's attorney is that, and there's a lot of things here. So basically, no water was brought down. The city will not bring water down 8th Street, if you want to call it that. We didn't require any kind of platting or an enforcement of platting after that. It was understood that all the properties that were part of that split of that 60 acres would be on water wells. And that we would not extend any utilities. There's no easements. There's no parcel can connect to any city utility without platting. And I'm reading from the letter here that was drafted by our city attorney and given to this developer. So this is what was put in place with that developer. I'm not saying that council won't vote otherwise here tonight. That's certainly their choice. But this is what was put in place. Now, so typically anytime a property owner wants to split land, like I said, they have to bring water. If it's within 1,320 feet, they have to bring it from that source, that point, 1,320 feet, that main, which is out on Country Club,
Right.
and bring it through that addition, and then each property as they build, they connect to that main. This did not happen there. So in order for you and your husband as a property owner to gain access to water, that means you are going to have to lay roughly 1,000 feet of private line to the city's main on Country Club at your cost. That you would have to understand there's no fire protection. You would also have to understand that you would have to gain private easement from all property owners to your east for this line to run across. That's not the city's responsibility.
The easement's actually it doesn't go through anyone's property. We've already researched that, so there wouldn't be a variance needed because
Is it a private easement?
it's in the public, it's down the road.
There is no public easement.
It's down the road to our knowledge, so.
There is no
And
public easement.
that was given from the city to our builder, so. We were told that there was no variance needed, and it wouldn't impede any of the neighbors on 8th Street that already have water.
Can you speak to that, Janae?
What you filed is that road maintenance and utility easement. The easement we talked about, that's never been accepted by the city. They put that in place so private franchises, so you could get electricity, so you could get Pioneer, so they could have other franchise utilities come down that private road. But it never was brought before as a public easement and never was accepted by the city.
Yeah, so I mean, that is something to understand is this developer actually took all of his documentation that he had and that was put together by the contractor that he hired to do this for him and filed it with the county without ever coming to the city for approval or acceptance. And the city would not have accepted this simply based on the fact that it was not subdivided correctly. It should have went through the platting process. So basically to come to some sort of an agreement with this property owner, our city attorney at the time recommended these restrictions and regulations that he put in this agreement to that property owner. And it was actually sent to his attorney at the time. And that's the reason that property, that 60 acres, is even divided at this time, quite honestly. So, like I said, council may choose otherwise here tonight. But to our knowledge, there is no public easement, and you would have to have private easement from those other property owners. No fire protection in the area. Any kind of pressure, of course, that's a long distance, 1,000 feet of private service lines. So any kind of pressure issues or things of that nature you may have, it would not be something that the city would address.
So when you say no fire protection, what do you mean by that?
No hydrants. You won't have any hydrants in the area up there.
Okay.
Now, I'm not saying the fire department will respond.
Right.
They will respond. But typically in a neighborhood this size, or anytime you're doing a development, fire hydrants are required as well. And on this, of course, there's no city main that is running up through there, so you won't have any fire hydrants. The closest one is out on Country Club, I believe, in 10th Street or 8th, going on the east side of Country Club.
Yeah. Yeah, so we were told initially, no problems. I think it was by Vanetta in the water department early on, and that really all we had to do was run the water line to Country Club. The meter would be on Country Club. Fast forward, you get to June, worked with Kevin in planning and zoning, all the details figured out. Our builder got all the approval, paid the $800 for the survey. No one raised their hand. Really, still no one raised their hand until the lady, whoever it is, someone else's property, has nothing to do with my property, reached out to our builder and said, I don't know what you're doing. The city's not going to allow water in this area. And so, again, they've remained compliant this entire time. So instead of just proceeding, because we had the green light, he paused, called the city, and here we are. So, you know, I understand that you wouldn't want to put city water down the hole, but even if you just put it to the few properties right on into that area to meet the requirements of the statute 5202, you're not going to have 7 or 8 water lines off of your main city line. So, because you could hold yourself to that statute. So.
Well, and like I said earlier too, if a developer is going to develop a piece of land and he's within that 1,320 feet, that developer, it's his cost to bring that water main into the subdivision, in this case, into that 8 lot divide or division. So the city is under no obligation to extend water at all at this point. The agreement was that all of those properties would be on well water in allowing this development to even take place without platting.
Okay. So can you release any of those records, or would it require us getting an attorney?
No, sure, it's public record.
Okay.
It is public.
Where do we find those?
I'll have Janae can send it to you.
Okay.
The letter here between the
The builder and the city, or however it landed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sent to the Mr. Osborne's attorney.
Correct. Okay. So yes, you can release that to her.
So.
Now she can't, I mean, they can run private lines. Jeff and I spoke at length this morning on this. They can run private lines down the country club and tie on to our, I believe it's an 8-inch,
Yeah.
correct? And tie on to the cities. It's an 8-inch out on the country club, I believe. There's 12 actually on these.
West east side of is our main on the west east side.
East side for the 12-inch, I believe 8 inches on the west side.
Okay, so there's water on the west side.
Correct. And since it's not serving, it won't be serving any fire hydrants, the 8-inch I think would probably be perfectly fine for just residential service. But again, they will have to come across private easement, private yards to get easement from them. That would be between the two property owners or each property owner. We're talking about potentially 8 private service lines running down 8th Street all the way to Country Club.
In the same ditch.
Well, potentially on each side of the road, 4 on each side of the road, maybe. So.
Now, I think what she's talking about too is there is a private street and public utility easement filed, but it doesn't start until it gets to the edge of the property that Mr. Osborne owned. So, like Kevin says, you have to cross those other properties.
Well, that public utility, go ahead.
But I mean, it's private. It's not the one you showed me.
That purple,
the purple one.
Yeah, Janae, go ahead. Because that is not filed of record, no, I don't
We
think.
filed it, but we never.
The city never accepted.
It's never, it's for franchise utilities. They didn't have any utility easement down that road because he never went through platting. So if he went through platting, he would have had to bring the road up to private standard, which he didn't do. He would have had to bring water completely down with fire hydrants every 500 feet, plus one at the end of the cul-de-sac. He would have had to carry that water down 8th Street, do the road, and with that, you're dedicating those easements during that planning process. So he went and filed that easement so those lots could get OEC, Pioneer, but there's no public dedication.
So in short, it
We
was
didn't
never
accept
accepted
it.
by the council because it was never brought to the council.
Right,
I have a question. If
just filed it with the county.
if a property owner decided to take this up with that developer after the fact, and if he took ownership for it and did what he should have done, would he have access to our main there?
At his cost, yes.
But how about the easements?
He would have to dedicate easement to the city.
But I mean, to get,
Not for a private person to utilize that easement.
If it's a public utility though.
But it's not public if it's private lines.
No,
He's gonna build it and turn
talking
it
about our
over.
water.
I know.
I mean,
If that developer were to, I don't know if this seems possible, but if I were a property owner, I'd be going back to him. For one thing, that would be something I would consider. So if he said, hey, I'll get this corrected, not that he would, I'm not presuming upon him, but if he did, would he be able to tap into our main? And would he have access across those other properties between him and Country Club?
It depends on if you're talking about a private service line with this individual
Right.
or a public utility coming to our main to service all those lots.
And
up
turn
there.
it over to the city.
And I'm thinking the latter, the
Okay,
public
then
utility.
yes,
Because
yes.
that's what he should have done to begin with if he's going to develop.
That's correct.
So,
But he would have, then at that point, he would have to dedicate public easement for that line, for the 6-inch, 8-inch, whatever he would run up through there.
but he would not, he would have access through, see, I don't understand, is that a city street there?
No, it's not.
So that's
It's
private
private.
property. So someone owns that property?
And the property owners,
Shared easement, is it
Yeah.
shared ingress and egress?
No, I think individual owners have all purchased all of the lots at this point, so.
Well,
Okay,
we're talking
Yeah.
between Country Club and the start of this development.
Okay, there's a few houses
Yeah,
there.
and that's the main concern. But once it gets back to,
private too.
yeah, once we get
Right.
back to the end of that, and it falls on this easement that
And
was
they have
filed
city
here.
water, our neighbor, the first house when you get into this has city water.
Yeah, so once you get back where this easement starts, then they can utilize it. It doesn't have to be public. If it's a private line through there, they can put their line in that easement. They just have to get from Country Club back to where that starts.
Correct.
And that would be the issue is for her, in this instance, to get service, she would have to get an easement across those individuals for about the first 660 feet. After that, then I think what you're referring to, the private street and public utility easement that Mr. Osborne filed is applicable for private utilities, not for a public line after that point in time. But you still have to get easements across those individuals, get from Country Club 660 feet approximately back
Oh,
to
I
that
see
easement.
Yeah,
That makes
there's a
sense?
gap there
Yeah.
between Country Club and where that starts.
And what about it? So that's owned by someone, so you said he would have to get easement
Well,
from
Whoever
These
has
people
those
right
properties
here.
would have to give an easement.
Or these people over here.
and if they
yeah.
choose not to, there's no solution.
They would have to be willing to provide it. I mean, I am sure that there is a easement filed. I would anticipate there's an easement filed for access to that property. I don't know whether that would allow them to put utilities in that access easement. That's for their attorney to figure out. But
Isn't the recourse through that developer and not, I mean, this property owner is in great need. Isn't recourse through that developer for him to come back and
Well, the letter that we have here, or the agreement that was made between the city and the developer, was that all of this that is discussed in this letter would be disclosed to the individuals that purchase the lots. Now, I'm not saying it was or it wasn't, but yes, I mean, that would be something they would have to address with their attorney and his attorney.
and I wish it would have been done correctly to begin with. I'm
No
sure you
kidding.
do as well. And I have no issues with the private line going back there, as long as everybody understands that means we're going to have about potentially, 7 or 8 private lines through there. And we've had a history over the years in the city of 5-acre tracts being rezoned into E2, E1, and there's 5-acre tracts being split, which would potentially require additional lines to go back there. So, just without any additional splits, there's going to be a whole spaghetti system of individual private lines going back to this development. Now, an alternative, like has been talked about, is for the city to construct a main back to the edge of that development or to the development and, institute a improvement district that would then be repaid by the individuals that it benefited. But that's going to be very costly, and I think for the petitioner's needs, by the time you went through ODEQ, engineering approval, and building, that's probably a 1 to 1.5 year process for that to happen. And then you got very few individuals that would have to pay for the cost of a significant sized
Right.
water line, including fire protection required, if the city would accept it. And so, I mean, so
Materials alone, I did get cost today from our superintendent, 45,000 for materials alone.
not engineering, that's not laying it.
Not that I'm suggesting they do it, but they're not prohibited from putting a well in because they're in the situation, right?
That's what the developer
Normally they-
indicated that they would be.
Well,
All of
water's
these would
part
be
of
wells.
there too, by the way.
But yeah, I was just curious, just.
That is another issue. Our neighbor, or our soon-to-be neighbors from the east, they've drilled 200 feet down and hit nothing dry. So you could be faced with, there's no choice because there's
So
no
are they in
water.
your same situation right now too?
Well, I was thinking they wouldn't be because I was hanging my hat on that 5202, thinking we were probably the last of that. So hoping that that would help you all in the decision making to say, yeah, it's not ideal to have spaghetti lines, if you will, off of the main line, but hoping that there would just be a few based on, because the house to the east of us, right when you pull in past the city, you know, when you get through that cattle guard fence, they have city water. And then there's our house. And then there's potentially one, maybe two more properties across from us. So I was thinking just that could be potentially the max that would have access to this based on this issue.
Ugh. Sticky.
Yeah, and there's the additional, this is just further thought, when sometimes those lines do break or leak, and the water meter spins and nobody knows about it.
It's a long line that you could
Yeah.
miss a break on.
It's here to there. It's just-
And so I take it you probably did not receive a copy of that letter when you purchased this real estate.
We did not.
So many layers to the problem.
And, ideally it would have been filed of record to where it would have been pulled in an abstract, but apparently it was not by anyone, so.
So there are 8 property owners now, or 6? I mean, flats.
8 lots.
8 lots.
And if you did accommodate one, you couldn't refuse the other 7.
Right.
But, there's no guarantee that the other 7 would get an easement across the property owners they have to come across.
Well,
That's the
Yeah.
control the individuals that are between
Oh,
Country Club and where this
right.
property starts.
And how many times they'll be asked to dig into their
Right,
property.
and so they want 8 trenches across the front of their property. One big trench would be a whole lot better than 8
Yeah.
small trenches, I would think.
Right. Have those other properties sold?
All of them sold at this point.
115 the north, west 15 acres.
And all the rest of them have been sold. But then the developer still owns that 15-acre tract.
I would think the developer would be standing here at this microphone
Right.
addressing the city right now.
Right.
Yeah. The issue we're facing is it's costing us thousands of dollars because we have no water. Our house is sitting there because we have no access to water to be able to complete our home. So that's where we're at. That's why I'm here.
Construction interest.
Yes, thousands of dollars. So until we can get it figured out, we can go try to drill a well, but then I'll just be back right here if we don't hit any water. So.
Yeah.
No,
You
it's
haven't?
very expensive. So
Okay, you haven't tried it.
we were hoping that we could get past here. And also now we have greater concerns with that, given that our neighbors to our west drilled 200 down and we're dry.
Yeah, he came and talked to me and about the same issue, but he thought he saw something where you guys had tried to drill a well.
No, we have not.
Okay.
No, it's not something you just want to play with.
No, and he did in fact tell me that on that 15 acres, the northwest one that Mr. Osborne still owns, that he in fact did drill 2 wells there, but was gonna find out how far that he went down. But it was further than 200 feet, but evidently there's 2 wells on that property, and you can check with,
They also have access to water that way. They have a
Okay.
pond. They have a
Yeah.
pond there where we don't.
yeah,
So that could have something to do with it
Yeah.
as well.
you could get verification and check with ODQ and see how far he went down, if you wanted to find out about his well permit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wrap it out here.
What are your thoughts?
Well, it's a classic example of why property that's going to be subdivided and developed needs to be done the right way, in accordance with the ordinances, so that roads get put in properly, sewer gets put in properly, water lines get put in properly. It's just a classic example of why we say, don't go out there and start dividing all your property without following the rules, because you end up with relatively innocent individuals that end up having to suffer the consequences. I think Councilmember Reed is dead on. The remedy is probably with the person who sold you the property, particularly if they didn't disclose these requirements. But I also know that people sitting around this table try to serve their citizens. And so I know they're probably looking for some way to help you. Probably the best way to do it, although there's a time issue, as the mayor said, is assessment district. Get it put in correctly to begin with. Or try to drill your well. Then that helps you with the time frame. Maybe there's a way you can tap into one of your neighbor's wells, if you've explored that. But, it's not a good situation.
For an assessment district, pardon me, would that require the agreement of every one of those individuals that would be served by that?
The city can impose it, but all the property owners have a voice, and they can come in and object basically on necessity. So if you have some property owners out there that already have water by well or by future water line, they're probably not going to agree to assessment district. Why would they want to pay again when they already have a need that's being fulfilled? So it may be difficult to get approved without an agreement of all of your property owners, particularly ones that are already have water.
Yes, this question.
I know I'm not giving you very good solutions.
Could
That's
the
okay.
developer actually go put in a 4 or 6 inch line all the way down through there without manhole, without the fire hydrants and all that?
Not
Without,
if we're going to accept it, I wouldn't think.
no, not being city, but
No.
being privately owned by those.
Well, but we can't, we're not going to put water meters off of multiple water meters off a private line. We would have one
Right.
meter at the connection with the city.
Right.
So if you're a developer facing some litigation because things were not disclosed, there might be some motivation for the developer.
So how's the developer not accountable to the city? I mean, how does he get away with that? And how did he get away with dividing it and us purchasing the land in the city of Newcastle? Like, is there no accountability at the city level either?
Well, the city apparently worked out an agreement with the developer in, looks like 2021, that allowed him to go ahead and subdivide that property, which he'd already filed with the county. But the stipulation was he was supposed to notify every future property owner of these requirements. Sounds like he didn't do that, from what you're saying.
And oftentimes, we'll have an individual that, and it doesn't happen as often now as it used to, but they will subdivide their property. They will sell it to somebody. As long as that person never got a mortgage on it, then there was never a requirement during any title work for there to be a lot split approval from the city as a part of that transaction. So they come in here 10 years later and they're going to build on, and we're like, you don't have a legal lot to build on. That was illegally subdivided. The city had no knowledge of this ever happening. And that's kind of what happened here. The developer went down the county, he subdivided it, and we kind of found out when somebody wanted a building permit.
What, how, and this may be a discussion for another day, but why does the county accept it without saying, we're not taking it until we see that you've been accepted by the city first? I know, Jeff, you're like, that's a bigger argument. But it's true, because look what happens. It never would have happened if they said, we're not taking this until you show us that the city's accepted it first.
Yeah, it would be ideal if all levels of government worked together.
Knew you were going to say something like that.
If you take anything to the county clerk's office, they have an obligation to accept it and file it.
Well, so my last question then would be all the diligence that we've done, we got approval, we would have city water today if our builder wouldn't have done the diligence and called back after he already got approval and said, oh, just making sure because we've got a lady down the road raising their hand. I mean, we already were told it was fine, approved by the planning department, spent $800 to get the PIN survey ready to go. And then someone else raised their hand who is irrelevant to this issue, and now here I am. That's the piece that's very frustrating.
But what would have happened? I mean, just because what would have happened? The city would have just gone out there and put a line all the way into your development, you're saying?
Oh, no.
Our builder got approval from the planning
But
department.
what I'm saying is, nothing would have happened. Nothing magically would have happened even if that person hadn't raised their hand.
We would have set a meter at Country Club, and then there'd been your responsibility to obtain the required easements from the
Right,
property owners that would have had to.
that we were all prepared to do, and then we would have city water.
I mean, I think I hear your question is all this, where was that? I don't know how many months ago. Like, just so you know, have you got rights? Because we're only dropping your water meter here.
Right.
So you know you got to do the rest, right?
Yep.
So what's on the table then is the risk, the risk and opportunity of us allowing one line to go in to serve, to satisfy your need, and yet the risk is how many others would do it, and would they be on their own to do it, and do we cross that bridge when we get to it, or are we?
I think everyone's on their own to get the water to the main. I mean, we're all aware of that. So if they're willing to pay for it, the farther they get back, that's on them. I mean, you're saying that you're not going to run the main city line.
But my questions to the city is that an automatic obligation to do this, to accommodate all of the rest of them if they come to us?
I think it is if we allow one.
Or
I mean,
it's the problem's not going to be there. The problem's going to be these 1, 2, 3, 4 houses before all these new ones, and it's going to be, oh, we need to dig up your yard again. We need to dig up your yard again. Right, am I right?
Sure, that wouldn't be us. That would be they would be doing that, right, Marcy?
Yeah, but they
the very
opted
west
for the
lots,
whole thing.
the very western lots, it's not going to be just those 4 that's up there close to Country Club. It's going to be her lot and the lot next to her and whatever it may be on both sides that they'll have to get easement from.
Is this one already have water?
Yeah, the first one when you pull in has water.
Yeah.
City
If
water.
that's the case, then the precedent's already been set.
That's exactly right.
And apparently that one was
Grandfathered in.
an old house or whatever that was already.
Yeah, it was already there.
Yes, years ago.
Yeah, the meter was already there, that's right.
Oh,
Yeah, it wasn't a new line, the meter was already there. To an old.
Long before any of our time.
because it's right on Country Club.
Yeah, there was already city water back to that when it was subdivided.
And how far did that go back?
Huh?
How far did that house go back?
It's the first.
It's right on.
30 feet
Oh, so these ran
deep into the development, or 90, I mean, that's the west edge of their property, so, it's the first lot inside there.
So if we were to accommodate this, is there any way we can accommodate this and draw the line from that? Or said another way, if we accommodate this property owner, it's all we're accommodating is giving them at liberty to tap on to our main on Country Club. And it's up to them to get the permits, the easements. It's all on them. We're not enabling anything other than the tap, right?
Correct.
And then the rest of it, part of it would take care of itself when those other individuals would say, wow, we're not able to get the easements. Would they come back to the city? If they did, they would.
They could certainly come here, but there's nothing for us to
And
do.
we will say the same thing to you as we said to this family, that it's not a good situation, but they initiated their easements, obtaining easements, and they paid for the water line and paid for the tap.
Correct.
So that is an option on the table for us to consider tonight,
Yes.
right?
Now, Janae, did you happen to look on that 660 feet from Country Club going west, the easement that allows access to the Osborne properties, the original, been there forever easement? Did you guys look at that easement and see what that easement includes?
No, just Northwest 8th Street, it's a private road, so it's,
But it had to, an access easement had to have been granted to the Osborne property at some point in time. All I'm thinking is if there's a possibility that that wasn't restrictive enough, there's a possibility that they could run this line in that access easement.
what you're saying, from
From Country Club
to the beginning of his property.
and then it could run on that private utility easement.
Fortunately, the way that development was done, I don't know if we really obtained any easement from those adjoining property owners. There's two that front on Country Club, and then there's two houses to the west of that front on Northwest 8th.
Right.
But the previous owner to Osborne utilized 8th Street, even though it's private, they utilized it as access to that property.
Correct.
Right.
So I would anticipate there's something filed of record at some point, maybe in 1930. There's probably something filed of record at some point in
Right.
time that provided access to that back property that
Right.
we're now talking about.
Right.
And-
You have to go through and track that.
Well, I mean, it's on like my parents, theirs is on in their warrant, like whenever
In
you
their
look them up the
warranty
county.
deed.
Yeah,
It's in their abstract,
yeah.
not warranty deed, but I mean, that's a possibility. And I'm just trying to help, if this is something the city decides to do, to see if there's a possibility that these lines that are necessary could be ran in that access easement rather than having to obtain rights away from the
Right.
adjoining property
Yeah.
owners.
So we can look that up.
So-
We would do, and that'd be our favorite, I mean, that'd be just our service to them to do that.
Yeah, we have no control over it.
It would ultimately be her and this family's initiative to do it. We're simply saying, there's a good possibility it is available.
There's not a good, there's a possibility, there's a very good possibility there's a filed easement of record to provide access to that property, whether or not that would go far enough to allow them to put utilities in that access
Right.
easement. I don't know, but it's worth a shot.
Yeah, right. But we're not attaching our action on that. That's just an enabler for them. So.
It's a possibility.
So, which would be a great advantage if that happens.
Our action would be we would agree to set them a water meter at Country Club. Say good luck.
I think as reluctant as we are to get into that with all the other ripples, we're also reluctant to not find a solution for you as well. So
Appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel your pain. I can't imagine what it would be like to be sitting where you're sitting and I have major concerns like we all expressed about the repercussions of approving one and it moving one down the road. But all we have before us tonight is one. And there's maybe the remainder of those lots can get a suitable well that would be able to serve the needs of their property. But there's probably a good chance that your neighbor doesn't see the opportunity to get one. The bad thing is, since it's not a public line, you can't piggyback off of one another too. You run a line, they run a line, they run, so it seems pretty wasteful, and it seems like an assessment district or some type would be awesome, but that's not our decision.
When we talking like 90 to 120 to put a line up down through there?
Yeah, probably about 100 to 125. With labor, we've already got the materials with engineering costs, equipment costs, probably looking somewhere between 100 and 125,000.
And it'd be a year and a half.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, really? I missed that part.
Got to be engineers, it's got to be DEQ approval, it's got to be the.
and that might be step two after step one with the one family. I mean, maybe both have to happen.
Maybe put your private in and go do whatever you need to do on the backside with the developer's name.
Have you got an estimate of what size of line and everything you'd have to run down through there?
No, but you can see our house from here if you just walk outside.
Yeah.
We're on the hill.
Yeah. It is up on a hill. One day I was like, what is that over there? It is up on a hill.
It'll be expensive.
Yeah.
At this point in time, you don't have a year and a half to wait.
Right. Eesh.
It's a bad situation, and I hope we don't end up with any more of these in town. But like I said, there's oftentimes the developers do things that, and ideally, maybe we should have just said tough luck. But that was something that happened a while ago.
So the best scenario we can do right now, how I'm seeing this is, we set them a meter at Country Club. They run their line down to Country Club. They're responsible for all the easements that they need or use of that roadway easement to be able to get water up there.
If that's your motion,
I don't know whether we're ready for
Ready for that?
motion. Right. Yeah.
I'm just trying to find
that sounds like.
what I'm taking from all this.
Yeah, it was my understanding that there was a roadway easement, and so it wouldn't impede. So how do we find that out? I mean, who would we need to get with to determine that?
That 660 feet, that would be an attorney.
Yeah.
That would have to look that up and tell you whether or not they thought you had the right to use that to lay your utility line in.
Okay, so we have had an attorney look at that from our perspective, and I think that's where that generated from, that it was, it wouldn't impede anyone. But again, do we need to work with the attorney, or how do
There's
we?
two easements you're dealing with. You're dealing with the one that is a private road and utility easement.
Right.
And then you're dealing with the one that I haven't seen a copy of, which is that first 660 feet,
Okay.
which was probably, like I said, filed as an access easement years ago.
Never found it.
Can't
Don't
find
see anything. Osborne bought the property from Leverling, and so he bought that 60 acres from him. That's what that original meter, that first house on the south side, that meter's been there forever. But I don't see we're not finding anything from Country Club to where the Osborne property started.
No.
Leverling?
Leverling.
I saw that.
Leverling.
So then if that was never found, how did the first house get city water?
It already had city water before this ever became an issue, because the existing farmhouse was there,
Okay.
and that individual had run, like, this is the meter we're talking about that's been there forever.
Right.
Who knows when that could have been.
So it's a different meter than the one on Country Club.
It's on Country Club.
Oh,
But
okay.
it was the original meter that served the farmhouse that was back there that owned all this land. before
So
it was
the house I'm
subdivided.
talking about is a new build.
Right, but they had the existing meter already in
Okay.
place and the water
Got it.
service already in place.
Okay.
It was,
What is this? Do you have the water house pulled up? What is this 6-inch line that's coming down?
It's not there.
Yeah, that's false.
Okay, thank you. I was like, it goes through a house.
Yeah.
Okay, mismarked. Okay, thank you.
So in full disclosure, when I bought my property out here, I was told I wouldn't find well water, and I attached to a main 660 feet away, and I got the easement, so I was there. And then I had a line about 900 feet from one end of my property to my home. So for many years, we dealt with a long line, low water pressure, or moderate water pressure. And I hate to tell you how many times I dug up the leaks, but that's neither here nor there. But that's just part of it. So I went through that, and when the main came over later on, I attached to the closer main. I went through that. I was able to get one easement from 1 5-acre tract, and we paid for the line. They even had to cross a creek. It's doable, but the challenge is what easements you have to get.
Go in a booster For your house, since it's up on the hill.
Do what?
They want the one up.
Yeah, we've talked about
That
that.
was 42 years ago when none of these guys were on council.
Things have improved since then, right?
Well,
We shall find out.
I think my parents' neighbors, they have the same private easement road, same thing. Their neighbors have one all the way, probably as long or longer. And they're okay with their water pressure. I mean, it works okay, but they have the same situation. I mean, it's done. Now, I don't know. Now I wonder if they use the ingress and egress easement right to do it, or if they had to get property owners' rights. I don't know. They were already there when my parents moved in, so. But it's a very similar situation, so.
Well, I mean, I definitely, think we need to do whatever we can. It's a bad situation that may cause significant additional issues down in the future. But I don't know. At this point in time, I don't know what else to. Pretty easy to say, go spend $40,000 and drill a really deep well and see what you find. You may not find anything. But, and we have a great deal of concern about a spaghetti system of water lines going back there, but really that's not the city's issue. Once it leaves country clubs right away, it's not our baby anymore.
Yep.
So, if the applicant feels like that they can get the necessary easements to get back there, as far as I'm concerned, I really don't care what happens after it leaves the east side or the west side of country clubs right away.
but Council Fullerton had pretty much articulated it.
Yeah.
I mean,
You want to go ahead and go ready for the motion?
Everybody,
yeah.
Jeff, what do you think?
So you're gonna make an exception, is what you're saying?
That's what it looks like.
You're gonna go ahead and allow for a meter to be set on Country Club that the applicant can access, provided they're able to lay their own private line and gain the necessary easements to actually lay that.
And the city has to be held harmless for if they think they have a right to lay it in the existing access easement and that gets challenged, that's not our baby either. Our liability ends at the meter, correct?
Yeah.
That's right.
So,
Pressure issues, anything of that nature that would, because I'm afraid there's going to be pressure issues with that length of a line. You are going to lose pressure.
I'm going to agree with that.
yeah, which, I would encourage you to.
I would encourage you to continue to explore the assessment district with the other neighbors out there, because if you got a $40,000 cost to drill a well, and you can put in that kind of money into this project and
Right.
lessen the burden on some of the other neighbors, they may very well join you in this,
Right.
which would fix the whole problem.
Which would
You
then
can get
I'm
water
not
line.
opposed to that. It's just the timing right now for us. Like I'm not opposed to continuing that and having the discussion and helping them out even after we pay for a private line. That'd be lovely. Plus our pressure would be fabulous at that point.
So maybe that's a condition for them to give you those easements.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? And I'm not negotiating for them. I'm just saying there are ways to get there creatively. I think my suggestion is your ultimate goal is get the lines put in the way they're supposed to be put in, get the fire protection put in the way it's supposed to be put in, and get the public easements dedicated properly. It's what should have happened when it got illegally subdivided to begin.
Right.
But that serves everybody long term, and it'll actually raise your property values long term.
Right.
So just something to think about.
Right.
Yeah. But in the meantime, there's construction interest and you need water to do the rest of your house, right?
Right.
Okay.
how'd you get water for bricking? They bring it to the
Actually, I have no
site?
idea. Good question. I wondered that.
A lot of
Isn't
times
the
they'll
first
bring their own supply.
Yeah.
It's not available.
I bet
Yeah.
they,
There's a lot of cleaning that needs to happen, and it is not happening. It is very dirty. So,
Okay. Now can you say all that again?
I can say that. I will make a motion for the city to provide an exception and allow a water meter to be placed at Country Club to service the applicant, with the understanding that it's the applicant's responsibility to continue that line to their address from Country Club's right away, and the city of Newcastle cannot guarantee the pressure at the residence. They can only guarantee the pressure at the service connection.
Fire protection.
Nor can we provide or guarantee. We will guarantee fire response, but not fire protection via hydrants. It'll have to be off tanker based and what's carried on engines. So that cover it good enough, Jeff?
I think so.
Can I throw something in there? I'm kind of weird about, I know that's probably gonna take between a 2 and a 3 inch line, or even 4 to go up through there to get the volume and hopefully the pressure because of that large hill. Could we set a larger meter, but put a, a cost where it's not, they're not paying for a 2 or 4 inch meter?
But we'll set whatever meter they want, but they'll have to pay the fee.
Are you saying to run that size or to downsize the line, even
Well, I
though the
just
meter's
see like
bigger?
a 5/8 or 1 inch line, and then and then you're gonna open it up into a 2 or 4 for 1,000. I don't know how many feet it is.
I'm sure their contractor or plumber or whoever will tell them what they need for that distance and friction loss.
Yeah, and then they can whatever size they need, they'll pay the impact for that size meter.
I think from our property line, it's like 995 to
it's
Country
a lot.
Club.
I'll second. Sorry.
A motion second for approval of item number 8 with conditions.
Yes. Gene Reed,
Yes.
Mike Fullerton,
Yes.
Marcy White.
Yes.
Carl Nell.
Yes. Best of luck. I wish it was different, and I do hope that you'll pursue the idea of an assessment district, because long term that's going to be best for that area up there.
I agree. Thanks. Appreciate it.
You bet. Have a good evening. Item number 9, discussion of possible action to approve Kubota as the manufacturer for the NBR wastewater plant project.
Wall Engineering had solicited proposals from 5 different manufacturing companies for the NBR project at Highway 9 and Highway 62. And Kubota is the only manufacturing company that submitted a proposal. It is Wall Engineering's recommendation that we do select Kubota as the manufacturer. That is the company that council spoke with, and they gave their presentation out here a few months back. That's also the manufacturer of the plant that the mayor and I had visited in Trophy Club, Texas. So we would recommend going ahead and selecting Kubota as the manufacturer.
There aren't very many companies that do it in the first place, are there?
Well, there are several. I mean, he picked out 5 relatively easily, but nobody submitted any kind of proposal except Kubota. So I don't know why.
But he sounded like they've done good work and they've been happy. Well,
Yes.
There are more Kubota NBR plants in this part of the country than any other.
Correct.
Okay.
At current time, when we visited Trophy Club, there was 27 or so.
So 17.
17, I thought the 20 something total, but anyway, plants in North Texas that were getting Kubota membranes in. Well, so their service is good. And the plant that we looked at that had been retrofitted was retrofitted back when it was done with Kubota membranes.
Okay.
And they had great luck with it over a long period of time.
I make a motion we approved agenda item 9 for Kubota for the NBR wastewater plant project.
Second.
Motion second for approval of item number 9.
Gene Reed, Mike Fullerton,
Yes.
Kimberly Sutton, Yes. Marcy White.
Yes.
Carl Nell.
Yes. Item number 10, monthly treasurer's report.
Hi, everybody. So this is our first month in this fiscal year. Being the first month, that puts the execution rate that we would like to see at 8.3 if everything were perfect average. The revenues for general fund are sitting at 9.4. The expenses are sitting at 9%, so that's within exceptions. Revenues for NPWA finished at 37.6, expenses at 32.9. The reason that is so high is because we didn't budget for the construction projects in the way that Crawford makes me account for the deposits and expenses. It affects our full budget. So if you saw the budget amendment, you saw that there is a very large amount that's a wash. That's why at the end of June, I mentioned that if you took out the action of the capital projects we had, I gave you what the execution rate would be. I'll probably do that from here on out. I didn't go that far with this month, but I will from here on out so that you have a better idea. And I'll explain why I did it in a second. The fire department tax fund brought in over $123,000 this first month. We spent almost $189,000 to operate the fire department. You will see some action on Fund 11 this will be the last month there was any. We closed the loan in June, but we still had to make that final retainage payment to Lakeville. So Fund 11 is still on the books as of right now. It's a zero balance though, but you'll still see it continue because we had action in July. We paid one draw this FY on the meters of $271,000. Last year we paid $2.2 million, so that one is coming closer to being completed. For the new wastewater treatment plant, we've had one draw, which, as I mentioned, was rather large. It was over $4.1 million. Last year, we paid over $15 million in draws, so we're not even halfway through on that project. Sales and use tax came in great at $1,002,620. 836 of that was sales, 167 of that was use. That puts us 10% ahead of where we budgeted to be at the end of July. Compared to July of last year, we're 7.3% higher. And since the first month, same as the actual realized totals for all the sales needs. Our current indebtedness is now sitting at almost $31 million. Again, that includes the construction loans that we have going on for the wastewater treatment plant and water meters. Before I report our fund balances, I wanted to let you guys know that the fund balances for Fund 02, one of the reasons your report was late and one of the reasons that I didn't go into the percentage of the construction projects, when I ran my numbers on Friday, the initial comeback for the Fund 2 balance was under $200,000. So I had a little bit of heart attack and kind of put it aside. I contacted Crawford's to find out what was going on. It didn't get a hold of her that day, but her and I talked today. Everything's okay. They didn't send me the adjusting entries for last FY. After I sent some information to Stephanie and said, this is what I'm coming to, hoping she would spot a mistake. There's two different ways I could figure to get to it. That's what we came to. She gave me the journal entries, so I processed those, and I will tell you now that general fund just barely changed. Most of the adjustments were in Fund 2. The general fund balance is $222,560. Capital improvement is $2.2 million. Economic development tax fund is $35,000. Cemetery care fund is $41,000. Parks capital improvement is $172,000. Fire station again will be it is zero. Admin and technology fund is $230,000. Grant cost share fund is $2.6 million. Transportation impact fee is $237,000. Your NPWA fund says $194,000, but the real balance is $2,342,360. So I will get those corrected in financials and change those and send you out another copy. And I'll do that tomorrow. The water impact fee is $1.2 million. Wastewater impact fee is $826,000. Wastewater plant fund is almost $7.7 million. And our meter fund is $377,000. At this point, this first month, the first month is always kind of rough. Our expenses did outdo our revenues. So, they're not by too bad, a little over $200,000. Combined, we're at a little over $18 million. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Thank you, Gene. Appreciate it very much. When we're good reports, not when we get the bad report.
I thought I was gonna have to find another job.
Item number 11, junior manager's comments.
Just a couple of things. I know there was a lot of discussion going on social media yesterday evening about we had a few manholes that was actually flowing over, topping over, and with 8 inches of rain, that is difficult to control. All of our lift station pumps were working just as they're supposed to, working overtime, and with the infiltration that was coming in with some of those manholes that are low, set very low, they couldn't keep up. It was just too much water that was coming in. And I'm not real sure that there's any cities our size that probably wouldn't have that issue. Second thing was we've been working on the water wells out at the water plant, and we pulled a pump out of one of the wells last week to upsize it, to upgrade that pump to go from 15 or 20 horse up to a 40 or 50 horse pump. Got it changed out, got the pump put back in. It turned on and then kicked off immediately, and come to find out, the individual or the company who does our pumps for us and the wells was correct in saying that it was an electrical problem, OEC problem. So that has since been got worked out late last week. Should have that up and going here really quick. So then we will be back to operating 4 wells out there, although at this time right now we don't need it because we're about 3 million gallons, 3.5 million gallons ahead of our reservation with Oklahoma City. So we're doing pretty good. But they continue to work on things out there at that plant, upgrade some stuff and replace things. Can't say enough about our plant manager that we have out there right now. He is extremely sharp, very sharp individual.
Item number 12, trustee comments.
I'm kicking back to the sewer line. I kind of talked with you a little bit over the weekend, Kevin, but we're having an infiltration issue with our lines. And is it coming in through the top of the manholes? Is it coming in through the lines? Do we know?
Probably a little bit of everything, but that's something that we don't know at this point. That's what the study that's being done now with the wastewater modeling and master plan, that's exactly what it's going to tell us, where that water's coming from. All the smoke tests and everything that they've been doing on all the lines and things, that report is getting put together at this point.
Okay.
It's not completed. It's going to be a little bit before we get it back, but that's what will let us know where we have issues at and what to deal with. And that's something that's never, like I said, it's never been done to any of our manholes or sewer lines or anything like that, a mass study of all of that at one time. So I think we'll hopefully we'll be in pretty good shape after we receive this study. But I'm a little bit concerned at just how costly it could become.
The study or any corrections?
The correction of it.
Can't stick our head in the sand and
We cannot, absolutely.
So we've already been testing and checking everything before this storm.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
We've been doing smoke tests for a month now.
That's what I thought. All right.
Right.
I'll piggyback a little bit too about what Kevin said about the water. You know, we've been working on this for a long, long time with the goal of getting maximum production back to the plant. We were down to around 1 million, maybe 1.5 million if we pushed the total capacity on that plant, which was significantly down. We were down to 2 wells. And so with Val at the water plant, with our engineers, with Kevin working very diligently and our public works director, we're now back up to all 4 wells running. Those 4 wells can kick out over 2.8 million gallons a day if we needed it. We can't quite treat that much through the plant, but we've got the capacity now that even if 1 well goes down, we can still be in that 2 million gallon a day range. So we're a little over. So we're back up to about full capacity on the plant, which is somewhere we haven't been in a long time. And I want to give kudos to the staff and for Kevin because that hadn't been easy. Because there was a lot of finger pointing of whose problem some of those things were out there, and it's all got taken care of, and so that we're in a much better position than we've been in years out there. So I'm pretty excited about that. Any trustee comments? Item number 13 is adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion second for adjournment. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.
Kimberly Sutton.
No, I did voice on that one.
I'm sorry.
The return just need to go take the time and.
Yeah.
And then, ready to start.
Okay.
Ready? This time I'll call the August 12th, 2024 meeting of the Newcastle City Council to order. First item on the agenda is roll call. Here.
Mike Fullerton.
Here.
Jean Reed.
Here.
Kimberly Sutton.
Here.
Marcy White.
Here.
Item number 2, discussion and possible action on approval of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion second for approval of the agenda.
Kimberly Sutton.
Yes.
Jean Reed.
Yes.
Mike Fullerton.
Yes.
Marcy White.
Yes.
Yes. Item number 3, citizens' comments. This is an opportunity for any citizen to comment on any matter related to the city of Newcastle that is not on the agenda. Might remind any potential speakers that all speakers shall clearly state their name and address for the records. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person with only one speaking opportunity. Council members will not respond to comments or questions. The mayor may end comment period at his discretion, and prior authorizations required for distribution of materials or to approach the council. It's time is any public comment concerning the city of Newcastle.
Hello, my name's Tyler Igo. Future address in Newcastle is going to be 1529 Paloma Drive.
1529 what?
Paloma Drive.
Okay.
It's currently a private street that I'm constructing, and that's kind of what I'm here to talk about. What I'm wanting the council to take a look at is a current city ordinance that states that all public and private roads have to be constructed to the same specs, regardless of size of neighborhoods or where it's being developed. I bought some land that was one tract, split it into 3. The zoning was not changed at all. All lots are over the 43,560 or an acre. The current specs that require public or private state that all roads have to be 26 feet wide. And for my instance, has to include a 42-foot radius cul-de-sac. What I'm developing is only going to have 3 houses on it. So if your average 2 cars per house, you're talking 6 vehicles, and I'm being required to put in what is the same size as your Pulchella neighborhoods, your full-size neighborhoods that are platted, like's been talked about. Everything's been approved to the city. Has been a great helping me divide it to the 3 that I have, but the road requirements are coming all out of pocket for me. It's not an HOA. It's all for me as a personal citizen. You know, I'm currently building my family's home there. For reference, it comes off Southwest 16th Street, which is 18 feet wide, and a state highway in Oklahoma is 24 feet wide. So I'm being required to go 2 feet wider with a cul-de-sac than a state highway. Like I said, there'll only be 3 houses on it. The city will never endure any cost. It's a private road. I will have all costs to construct it, as well as all maintenance on it. So I'm just asking, it's a big burden on your private citizens developing land that they own. With the current ordinance, they have to be built the same as a public road. So I'm asking y'all just to take a look at the ordinance. I think it's something could be looked at, if not amended, to help the citizens that own large acreages like myself to put in a road for such a small development, if you call it that, with only 3 houses compared to full-size neighborhoods. So,
Thank you, sir.
thank you.
Is there any additional public comment concerning the city of Newcastle? Item number 4 is the consent agenda. Is there any item any member of council request be removed from the consent agenda and addressed individually? I will make a motion for approval of the consent agenda with one change in item number 4H, changing from $4,482.32 to $4,481.32.
Second.
Motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda as amended.
Kimberly Sutton.
Yes.
Jean Reed.
Yes.
Mike Fullerton.
Yes.
Marcy White.
Yes.
Um,
I will abstain. Item number 5, discussion of possible action on any items removed from the consent agenda, being no action on that agenda item. Item number 6, discussion of possible action on recommendations of the Planning Commission. Item 6A, public hearing, discussion of possible action on Planning Commission recommendation to approve application for rezoning from A Agriculture CC2 Community Commercial District to CC2 Community Commercial District for Yaya Holdings LLC, Darren Abel, located in the southeast quarter of the northeast quarter of the southeast quarter of Section 34, Township 10 North, Range 4 West, in Meridian, McLean County, Oklahoma, and adoption of ordinance number 975. Property address, 3373 North Meridian Avenue, Newcastle, Oklahoma, case number R 2024-005.
Good evening, Jenny Greenlee with the Newcastle Planning Department. Having some mouse troubles this evening. Let's just go here. No, this isn't.
I don't know what's wrong with mine, Scott.
Sister.
Operator malfunction, huh?
There
There we go.
Okay, as you stated, this is item 6A, R 2024-005. This is a rezoning from Ag, General Agricultural District, and CC2 to CC2. So what it is, it has two zoning designations on one parcel. This is for Mr. Darren Abel is the owner. He is present this evening at 3373 North Meridian. So this is his business that he operates currently right here in the front. The rear is Ag. As you can see, to the south, you have CC2 and Ag to the north, but it is on the frontage of North Meridian. So two things he's coming to do is to get the zoning all in under one zoning designation. I guess he has had some discussions with the Turnpike Authority for possible purchase, and he wants to make sure that he can continue to operate his business there if they come take that frontage. So we've discussed, staff has talked with him on what access and that he would need from the frontage road or North Meridian, and he will be able to continue to operate his business there if they decide to buy a portion of that property under the CC2 zoning designation. It is also designated as commercial, as you can see at the right-hand side of your screen, for the Newcastle 2040 Comprehensive Plan and Future Land Use Map. So there is no land use designation amendment required for this application. Staff recommends approval and of R 2024-005. Planning Commission recommended approval with a vote of 3-0. I'm happy to answer any questions, and as I said, the applicant is here as well.
Questions from council?
Makes sense.
Is there any public comment concerning this agenda item? Please approach the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Melinda Martinez, and we live in the property on 34th Street. And I just was wondering if that would change anything for like our driveway once the interstate comes in, because we kind of like 34th Street kind of goes down, and then we have 3 houses that go off of a little drive. And so I just wondered if that would change anything for our access right there, or if it would all still remain in the front. And then I just had like, was wondering about like what, as citizens, like lights and all that, or like what would be allowed to come right into our front door. Just because my husband is a youth minister, and so we have youth at our house frequently, and lots of strange visitors in the middle of the night just because of the location where we live. And I think he's had to deal with that before. And so those were just some of the questions that I think we kind of had, like just as the people who live right there?
To answer your first question, we don't know exactly what the Turnpike access road is going to look like. They have not shared the exact location with that. They've shared fairly close, but not down to the foot. So we won't know, but that should all be coming out fairly soon to see how they're going to bring that access road through there. As far as for the second one, there are ordinances in place regarding shielding lights from commercial to adjoining property owners. Darren does have one light now that shines straight across the interstate to the east. And that could probably use a little shielding, but for the most part.
Well, and he has to protect his property just because I know that we both share extra visitors in the middle of the night, and so I know that he.
Well,
he
I
does have
know
to
the need,
protect-
but yeah. Yep, but that's about the best we can do right now as far as for, any lighting that's put back there adjacent to the adjoining property owners will have to meet our ordinances. And when that comes up, if there's some issues, we can also address that. Walmart and their parking and their things, they've got to shield their lighting so that it doesn't encroach on the residences to the north, and so we continue that type of requirement.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? All right, we'll close public comment period and, sorry, do we have, come on?
Ginger Stevens, 250 Northwest 34th. So I'm clueless. I'm just asking. Does this change the use of the property? I don't really understand.
It changes the allowable uses for the property.
Okay.
So now any use that is an allowable use in CC2 commercial zoning could be allowed on that property.
Okay, because that's right up to our field, and we've had, or my understanding is, and we just had people in our field living, smoking. I don't know. So I just kind of would like to make sure that we just don't have any extra visitors, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. So it just changes the capability of what is going to be in that property.
What could be done with the property, yes. Any allowable
Is that
uses.
your property?
Yes.
You're
Any
not going
allowable,
to sell it, right?
May I have a choice?
He's a good neighbor. You know. Okay. All right. Thank you.
thank you.
I'm happy to address it if you would like.
Yeah, you can feel free to address it.
Most everybody here knows me. I'm Darren Abel. I'm co-owner of Yaya Holdings, and we own the property there. We operate extreme outdoor equipment on the property. We've been operating it there since 2019. And the back half of the property, as we've addressed, is zoned agricultural. We have been in negotiations with the state since February. They are ongoing. We do not have any guarantee that they will purchase our entire property if they do end up taking our property. So there is a chance that we could be left with the back portion of our property to continue to operate our business on. And this measure is just simply a request to make it to where we're not handcuffed in the future. If that is basically self-preservation. If in fact the state only takes the front portion and we're left with the back, we still have a business to run. And we would operate it on land that we already own rather than have to relocate it elsewhere. And I just want to make sure that if this should happen at some point in the future, that we're not put out of business because of a zoning issue. Mm-hmm. So we've occupied the property since 2019. We've used the back portion for commercial storage for equipment and the other. We don't take customers back there, but we've utilized it commercially for the entire time that we've owned it, and it's not been an issue. And we've not had any complaints regarding lighting. I have gotten the maximum amount of lighting that OEC can give me because
with a $5,000 deductible, every time somebody steals a mower, that's out of my pocket. So we've thankfully not had any issues since we've increased the lighting. And I hope that, and if there's any particular light that needs to be adjusted, someone just needs to bring that to our attention, and we'll be happy to have OEC come out.
Darren, does this change, does it introduce any more change of your lighting? Do you think there'll be anything new to the neighbors around you as far as?
No, if we are left with the back portion of the property, we've already discussed this with planning and zoning as to what will be required of us. But we would have to erect a building because the building that we occupy is on the adjacent property. We lease it. We own the 2.38 acres. So those are two separate properties that we occupy.
See that?
So if we are left with the back part, we will have to build a building suitable for operation, very similar to the building that we occupy. It's not going to be, it would be about an acre that we would be left with. And then again, this is very likely could be a moot point, because if OTA takes all of it, then doesn't matter. I'm just wanting to make sure that if they don't take all of it, that I'm not going to have a problem operating my business as I have since 2019 on that property.
Thank you, Darren. Any additional public comment? All right. Any other questions or concerns from council? It is an area that is suitable for commercial, so we'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve agenda item 6A.
A second.
Motion second for approval of item number 6A.
Mike Fullerton,
Yes.
Gene Reed,
Yes.
Kimberly Sutton,
Yes.
Marcy White,
Yes.
Carl Nell.
Yes. Item 6B, discussion on possible action to adopt emergency clause of ordinance number 975.
Motion to approve agenda item 6B.
Second.
Motion second for approval of 6B.
Gene Reed,
Yes.
Mike Fullerton,
Yes.
Marcy White,
Yes.
Kimberly Sutton,
Yes.
Carl Nell.
Yes. Item 6C, public hearing, discussion of possible action on planning commission recommendation to approve application for rezoning from E2 urban estate residential to CC2 community commercial district for Gina L. Ogle Parker, located in the east half of the northeast quarter, or the northwest quarter of the northeast quarter, section 10, township 9 north, range 4 west, Indian Meridian, McLean County, Oklahoma. Adoption of ordinance number 976, property address 324 Northwest 24th Place, Newcastle, Oklahoma, case number R2024-006.
As you stated, this request is a rezoning from E2 Urban Estate Residential District to CC2 Community Commercial District for Gina Parker. On the left side of the screen up here, you can see the aerial. These are the two tracks that are the request is being made for. The current zoning, like I said, is E2, and she is going to rezone to CC2. As you can see to the east in this area, there's been several rezonings that have been approved by council previously, given the location on Northwest 24th, and adjacent on this is Northwest 24th Place. But when the Loves came in and the hotel and casino expanded, these properties started to rezone to CC2. It does have a commercial land use designation by the 2040 Comprehensive Plan and Land Use Map, so there is no need for a land use amendment at this time. She is simply requesting to rezone in the light of future commercial development coming to this area. And with that, there is an existing house that is there at the on the east track. It can still be utilized. It can still be used as a single-family house. Can't expand that footprint because it'll become legal non-conforming. However, if CC2 does develop there, there is a provision for a night security person or manager, which they could occupy that house as that if they wanted to leave that house. Surrounding zoning, like I said, to the east is CC2, and council has approved request in this area similar to this. Planning staff supports and makes recommendation of R 2024-006, and planning commission recommended approval with a vote of 3-0. I'm happy to answer any questions. The applicant is out of state, and was not going to be able to be present this evening.
Questions for Jeanette? Any public comment concerning this agenda item? All right. As we've seen, there's been several tracks that have been rezoned to commercial in that area to CC2, and that's especially with the Turnpike proposal to rebuild the overpass there. That's appropriate for the area, so I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve agenda item 6C.
Second.
Motion second for approval of item number 6C.
Gene Reed,
Yes.
Kimberly Sutton,
Yes.
Mike Fullerton,
Yes.
Marcy White.
Yes.
Earl Nick.
Yes. Item 6D, discussion of possible action to adopt the emergency clause of ordinance number 976.
Motion to approve agenda item 6D.
Second.
Motion second for approval of item number 6D.
Mike Fullerton,
Yes.
Gene Reed,
Yes.
Kimberly Sutton,
Yes.
Marcy White.
Yes.
Earl Nick.
Yes. Item 6E, public hearing, discussion of possible action on application for rezoning from A agriculture to PUD planned unit development for Benjamin and Carter Rice, located in a part of government lot 2 in section 6, township 8 north, range 3 west, Indian Meridian, McLean County, Oklahoma. Property address is 2922 Southeast 32nd Street, Newcastle, Oklahoma, case number R2024-008. This has been continued by Planning Commission at the request of the applicants. I'll make a motion to continue this item to our next regularly scheduled meeting.
Second.
Motion second for a continuance.
Yes.
Kimberly Sutton,
Yes.
Mike Fullerton,
Yes.
Marcy White.
Yes.
Earl Nick.
Yes. Item number 6F, discussion of possible action on Planning Commission recommendation for approval of preliminary plat of Castle Court.
So this request is for a preliminary plat at Castle Court. This is on Main Street, just south of Northeast 19th Place. The plat is shown on your screen. So here's Northeast 19th and Main Street. These are 4 commercial lots, a total of 34,000 to 61,000 square foot lots for the 4 lots. The drainage will be constructed on site. It's down here in the lower south corner with the construction of the final plat of the first lot. Also, sanitary sewer is available. Water is available. There's an 8-inch along 62. They are requesting a variance with this preliminary plat to not upsize to the 12-inch and utilize the existing 8-inch line that is already there. They will have 2 access points, and I'll show you on the next slide the site development plan, excuse me, on North Main Street. And they're requesting 2 on Northeast 19th Street. Let me go to the site development plan. So they're asking for a variance from the requirement of the separation from Main Street to the first access on 19th Street. This one will align exactly with the access on the north side of the street. They need 150 feet from that intersection, but they're at about 80. So they're asking for about a 70-foot variance. And they will also have an access point here, because you're only allowed 1 access point per 200 feet of frontage in commercial. So they are asking for this secondary access point so they can have complete circulation for the rear of these lots for service vehicles, trash vehicles, and to have circulation throughout the development. So those are the 2 variances that they are requesting with this preliminary plat.
Did you say the first access that you mentioned, was it off of 19th?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, not 62.
No.
Correct.
Okay.
There's 2 on 62, so they have approximately 800 feet of frontage on 62, so they could potentially have 3 accesses on 62, but they're doing 2 here, here and here for the south one. There is no access to the private road that's on the south side. And so that's why with this property, they're asking for the secondary access to service these lots on the rear.
I have no
So,
problem with that. You know, it's a dead end street into that addition there, so it's not like it's a through street on 19th. The only issue I do have on 19th, with it, which I see quite frequently, is the number one, the semis that service the Papa John's tend to park right there on the street
Yeah.
while they unload and load.
Yep.
Which, that being very close to the intersection on Highway 62, creates an issue. And with this development having two access points coming out right where they park those semis, I think that could potentially be an issue. And not to necessarily gripe about it, but when our fire department eats up there at the boomerang,
They do.
they'll park the fire engines
They
right
do.
in the middle of the,
Yes,
right on the
they
edge
do.
of the street there. And with this circulation around here, that will be an issue. So if everybody could not park on the street,
don't park on the street.
yeah, that would be great, because it's bad enough limiting it to one lane now, but when this development comes in and there's those two entrances on there, that's going to be an issue.
Maybe a
So
sign.
public street, I was just gonna say, suggest a no parking sign.
I think there's already a no parking sign.
Okay. So the only thing that we could do is to talk to potentially Papa John's, and I'm sure this developer will accommodate and make sure not to let his buyers know that you cannot park on Northeast 19th Place, and that's why they're having the secondary access, so that they could pull in and have that space and loading and access aisle to serve the rear of those lots.
Yeah, and I know it's easy for them to do that, but this is going to be a much more of a safety concern if we can't get people off using that as parking lot.
So customer parking will be on 62 side of their business there.
Yeah, this, and you can see from the site development plan, I mean, they have parking, each one of their lots that they will develop, it'll be the builder or the buyer of those lots that will come in for the building permit. Sam being the developer, what he's gonna do is put in the drives, the ingress and egress on Main Street and on Northeast 19th Street. He'll also be required to build the detention pond and drainage facilities for all four of these lots when he comes in for the final plat of the first lot, phase 1. I believe that's his plan. I've spoke with him. He's going to develop one lot at a time as he has buyers for these lots. And the developer and the engineer is here if you have any additional questions for them as well.
Is there any public comment concerning this agenda item? Any additional comment from? I think it'll be a great addition to North Main, another opportunity for us to have 4 locations for self-stack generators to land in our community, and that will be good. Entertain a motion?
I move to approve.
Motion second for approval of item 6F.
Yes. Marcy White. Yes. Jean Reed.
Yes.
Mike Fullerton.
Yes.
Carl Nell.
Yes. Item 6G, discussion and possible action on planning commission recommendation to adopt ordinance number 977, amending section 154.028 E3 residential estates district, developmental regulations regarding rear yard setbacks and accessory buildings.
So this ordinance amendment is coming before you because we amended the E3 side setback for accessory buildings almost 2.5, 3 years ago. We've had several builders come in and talk with us, and they do have a good point. And why is the accessory building have the same rear setback as my main building? And so at that time that we reduced the side setback for accessory buildings in E3, it would be appropriate to look at the rear setback as well. This gives more buildable area for these property owners and doesn't encroach those accessory buildings really far into their rear yards, closer to the main structures. So we are proposing that accessory buildings the amendment go from a 25-foot rear setback requirement to a 15-foot. If they are over 14 feet or above, they would be at 15 feet plus 1 foot additional setback required for each full foot of building height, which is the same in all of the residential estates or residential zoning districts. You increase the setback a foot on the rear and side as they go up to a certain height restriction.
I think it's a good thing. It's something we probably should have done when we did the other one. And is there any council comment or question for Jeanette?
Did this, had those setbacks, we had the larger side yard setbacks. The idea was larger lots, we'd have that setback to keep a greater spacing. Having more open book and these side yard. Stockade fences and wanted to move the buildings to the side. Side. It did render the building more open space.
Any public comment concerning this agenda item? All right.
Motion to approve item 6G.
Second.
Motion and second for approval of item number 6G.
Fullerton,
Yes.
Jean Reed,
Yes.
Marcy White.
Yes.
Amanda Sutton,
Yes.
Carl Nell.
Yes. Item 6H, discussion and possible action to adopt emergency clause of ordinance number 977.
Motion to approve item 6H.
Second.
Motion and second for approval of item 6H.
Yes.
Marcy White. Yes. Mike Fullerton,
Yes.
Kimberly Sutton,
Yes.
Carl Nell.
Yes. Item 5, discussion and possible action on planning commission recommendation to adopt ordinance number 978 as revised, amending section 154.005A general agriculture district regarding conditional use of secondary buildings and permitting RVs or trailers as a temporary residence.
This ordinance amendment in a general agricultural district is to do two things. On agricultural properties, a second residence for farm or ranch employees, we're adding family members to that language. We often, it's an allowed use to have a secondary residence on ag properties of 5 acres or more for farm and ranch employees. And a lot of people come to us and say, well, does my mom have to show proof to be a farm or ranch employee to have that secondary residence? And I'm like, as long as you're telling me she is a farm or ranch employee, it's great, but we are including family members as, you know, more people are looking for aging in place, multi-generational living, and just being able to have your family member for secondary residence on your property. A lot of people are looking for accessory dwelling units as well. So it does that, as well as allowing a RV or travel trailer for a temporary residence. We went to Planning Commission. Our proposal was to allow this use for temporary use, not connecting with an additional, no additional meters or sewer allowed, have to use existing meters or on site, or that existing sewer cannot have another address, and it has to be used for family members. The trailer can't be rented out or leased. It has to be used for extended family wanting to come and visit and stay on site. Our proposal was for that 2-year period. When we took it to Planning Commission, they made a modification, suggested their motion was to do a 6-month period, and that's what the ordinance is stating right now that has gone forward to you council members, and then for 3 renewals. So they would come to us, we would have to verify with the letter that is required as well. And then they would be permitted for that 6-month period, have to come back again 6 months, 6 months, 6 months. A little bit more tracking for staff. The other requirement of this conditional use, so this is in the conditional use section, so staff evaluates this. It doesn't change, you don't have to go forward and do an ordinance or change anything. It's staff evaluation administratively would be allowed, is that this conditional use is for 20 acres. So you'd have to be on an ag property that has 20 acres or more to have this conditional use applied for this temporary use of an RV or travel trailer. During the discussion with Planning Commission, they talked about the size of the lot. You know, well, what if somebody has 10 acres? Or what if somebody comes in with a building permit? So what staff did was kind of look at maybe making some other modifications that we can either take a look at this evening or potentially, backspace, or we can go back to Planning Commission. There was some just discussion on, I'm a legal ag 5-acre lot, and I'm coming in to build a house, and I want to live in an RV while I build my house. And so we put together kind of, and it's in your staff report, just an allowance under the conditional use where if they submitted a building permit, that they would be allowed this temporary use for housing in an RV or travel trailer with the submission of a building permit. So on any acreages that would be less than 20 acres, and if they were building a house, that this, or at least 20 acres, I should say, that this provision could apply to them as well. So I have 10 acres, I'm coming in, I want to build a house, I want to live in an RV. So I don't meet the 20 acres, but I've got a building permit right here. And so I'd like to see if that would be allowed as a temporary living structure for the duration of the time when I'm doing construction. And then before they would receive the certificate of occupancy, they would have to vacate the RV or the travel trailer.
I just thought about something, and Nate and I talked about this a little bit, but I just thought about something that has happened many times. After a property owner's house has been destroyed by tornado.
Oh, yeah.
So that's something to consider too, and that's not just on 5 acres or ag land. I mean, that has happened on E1, E2, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
People will live in a trailer, a mobile home or whatever until they can get their house rebuilt.
So these are two different situations. One is a family member aging in place, which is what I'm living like.
Or
visiting.
Or, my thoughts on this are, and I would like to see it back to a farm or ranch employee, because it's not unusual for farms and ranches to need employees in the summertime.
Right.
And potentially need to have a 4 to 5 to 6 month period of time when there was a recreational vehicle or RV there for that seasonal employee to live there.
True.
And in those instances, I mean, I see it all over the state of Oklahoma. They put in the septic tank. They have a water meter there that's utilized for that employee for a temporary basis. Sometimes it may be a year or two. Sometimes it's just temporary coming through. But if it's a truly an ag operation where it is somebody that is working for that operation, then I think that I don't like the fact that they can't put any new water meters or sewer taps, because that would preclude a farm owner from setting up a situation where that farm worker could come and have an RV there. So
with farm and ag, I like what you're saying with that, but if it's not farm or ag, it seems like you're really limiting. I was kind of surprised to see it only 20 acres or larger. There's only a few of our residents that would possibly use that compared to, why would you not provide for a 10-acre or 5-acre temporary?
That was some of the discussion at Planning Commission. It was heavily discussed about that, about the 20 acres. Because what we're trying to do is kind of minimize the use of it.
Well, yeah, you
and
definitely would be.
Not to say that a 5 acre ag lot, and after discussion today with Kevin and Jeanette, we talked about that. You know, what if there's a 1 acre ag lot that was divided back in 1970 and it meets our requirements of the subdivision regulation because they show me a warranty deed where they created that lot legally, but you know, predates our 1973 requirement, and they've got 1 acre, you know, and they want to have, you know, Uncle Bob come and stay in his RV, you know, for, you know, 6 weeks. Why would we, if it's a legal ag lot, do we need to look at, you know, limiting it by acreage, you know, or by a building permit? What we don't want to happen is that we start having people, that's why the temporary use, the 2 years. We don't want this to be permanent. To answer your question about the water and sewer, and definitely that's at the discretion of council, was to limit these from being like permanent situations. So that was the idea behind that. But I do see your point
Well, I wouldn't
too.
want one there for more than a week without access to water and sewer.
Well, that's well, they have to tell,
They could come into your house.
yeah,
Yeah.
they would have a private line that they would have to
Typically,
be
you wouldn't want
serviced.
your employee to be parking in a temporary, potentially, you know,
That's
your
true.
employee to be parking in an RV in your driveway.
That close to your
Right.
house,
Yeah.
right? That's true.
And I keep thinking on the ag employee
Sure.
section of that.
Sure.
If it was Uncle Frank, I probably wouldn't care if he was
Right.
in my driveway, but,
Right.
but if it is truly something that can be utilized for ag employees, then, and I think it should be, then I think the opportunity to put in a septic system and a water meter to serve that is applicable.
I have a question about the other one. I'm just playing devil's advocate. If I get a building permit to build a house and then I just sit on it for a couple years, so I just get to, have we built in where we can't abuse that?
Yeah, so in chapter 150, under building permits, they expire 6 months.
Okay.
If you don't have any inspections done, you have to come back. I dealt with this last week. You know, I mean, you
Right.
do look at it case by case, you know, this family had a hardship and, you know,
I just want to keep it from people not starting to
within 6
build.
months, and our inspectors are really good about keeping up with things that, and especially with our system now that's automated and everything is electronic, keeping up and saying,
Okay.
oh, we haven't done any inspections at so-and-so place in a year. What's going on with it, you know?
Right.
Or
So when it expires and they haven't started building, you say, your building permit's expired, therefore your residency in this trailer.
Correct. And then
Okay.
they also, you know, they have to submit a letter. We did put in here related by blood or marriage, you know, to have that use. That's something else that, you know, this is to try to kind of, I say, start looking at these possibilities of utilizing these RVs or travel trailers for temporary use, for visiting, for working, and not to be a burden, or somebody that's building a home, but not to be a burden, or, you know, not go by what our ordinance requires. Because we do have the mobile home park district, we have mobile home
Right.
parks. But a lot of people, when they come to visit, they don't want to go stay in the mobile home park. They want to be where their family is. So this is to try to accommodate. That's why that 20 acres is there. That's why the water and sewer. But make it a little bit more restrictive so it doesn't become where, you know, oh, well, my cousin's coming too, and they're bringing their RV, and they're going to bring the other RV, and make it to where you have people living in RVs and not having any conditions tied to it with that time limit.
And I think we've got a couple different deals here. This is just my perspective. I think we've got the ag one, and we can drop that down to 5 acres. I really don't particularly care on that. But then I think we've got the other one where you're talking about building a house, rebuilding a house, that could be applicable to all zoning districts. If there was a tornado that came through and wiped out the house, you know, then we get talking about they're building a house, they have a building permit, and that could cross not just ag. So that's not, I don't think, something that's necessarily before us today.
Right.
Strictly this, you know, and that's something I think we do need to take up, because I think that's something that we should do. I know,
You could even shorten the time period on that,
Yeah.
on those instances.
on those,
We could actually put that in that chapter for RV mobile home underneath that specific chapter.
Mhm.
Unless there is, because it says cannot live in an RV unless it's allowed in that zoning district. And you could put it in there and say, unless natural disaster has happened and,
Or they're
in
building-
any zoning
Or they're
district. should be-
constructing a new home and
Yeah.
you limit however you wanted to do that.
Yeah. That could fit.
Because that's not, and I know I talked to an individual that's going to be constructing a new home and would really like to be able to do this, but the city won't let him. But, anyway. So but I think that's something that we need to look at, but back to the ag one, I would like to see that not just for family members, but for employees, and then, take out no additional water meters or sewer taps, because I think if we're going to allow them to come in there, there's going to be a lot of situations where they're not going to want to be just right in the driveway, hooking into the septic system of the existing homes.
Okay.
Carl, if I could, and Janae's pretty well laid out our discussions, and I think I've tried to cover a couple other instances as we talk more about the family member, visitor, and or the building law during construction. Saying that's probably kind of film. The 20 acres, the purpose of that was operation and an ag employee. But it's big enough operation that you could call it agriculture. 20 acres or more, that's going to be an agricultural operation. If we take it down too low there, we're our 5-acre tracts to have a double resident or a RV as a residence on for long term. So I kind of like acreage on that and some limit on the time period. And we thought 6-month term renewable kept for kept in and made the staff's job of keeping track of it easier. Because that's 6 months, and that's normally long enough to handle seasonal work. If they want long-term employees. And I think on the other, we ought to work on that. Think about it. I just wanted to say that, I mean, what's the idea of an agricultural setting for sure. And then is it a long term with you? That's big enough traction, not going to interfere with your neighbor. I don't know, 5-acre tracts, that feed some homes out there that don't want the longer term. So that's just, I wanted to.
Carl, just out of curiosity on the farming side, when let's say farmers, they don't always, I guess, put their rest of their property up on mortgage, they kind of block out where their house is. Is that pretty common?
Well, virtually all farmers, if they have a lien on their home, most of them separate that off into a smaller tract so that they can get a mortgage on that that's sellable in the secondary market, get a much lower interest rate on there. Like my house is separated off from my farm, the remainder of the farm, because in order to get a mortgage that's eligible to be sold on the secondary market as a home mortgage, it has to be on a smaller tract. But that doesn't mean that the property as a whole that it's on would not be greater than that.
That's what I'm kind of worried about. Are we limiting down, 2 acres now? Are we limiting down 5 acres? Where the house sits? Let's say they own a section of land, but they've cut out where that house sits. Are we looking at, is that going to affect our ordinance here?
Yeah, I mean, it would still be I see what you're saying. You're saying like if they took out and they have a 5-acre lot, but they own the surrounding 200 acres or whatever it is, or say it's 40 acres. Well, they could be eligible on that lot to have that temporary use of the RV. With that, that doesn't have a house on it, As long as right now, this is just allowing this in the ag district only. I see what, Kevin had brought up, and that would have to be looking at amending that section of the ordinance to speak to if a natural disaster comes, that we allow use of RVs or travel trailers as temporary housing for those affected by that in all zoning districts, as long as they, of course, can meet the setback requirements and they're not parked in the right of way. They'll have to submit a site plan just like you do with any permit. There's just not going to really be a building permit, say, that would be attached to this. It's going to be that letter that they'll have to submit to the planning department. We'll have their address. They're going to show us where they're going to put their RV, make sure that they're meeting the required setbacks and temporary use, and if they want to modify the ordinance as it is right now to allow for water and sewer meters. So maybe we will take them through the permit process.
I would like to, on the proposed ordinance, I'd like to take out that no additional water and sewer taps will be allowed, and that it may utilize existing water and or sewer of the primary residence. 20 acres if it's truly for family and or workers. I have no problem with that. It's whatever council thinks on that. And to allow RV or travel trailer to be used for farm or ranch employees or family members. And I don't know, I don't have a problem with the 2-year deal. We have difficulty keeping track of everything else already, and I hate to put that additional burden on staff to make sure, literally I can drive around Newcastle and show you multiple situations in non-ag zoning where there's a person living permanently in an RV right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so, so I don't want to get too particular on this, and that's some of the things that's been brought up to me that, we won't let anybody do what there's a lot of people in town already doing. So I don't want to get too restrictive on this. I don't want to encourage either. I don't want to see everybody open a miniature RV park on their property either. But I think the 2-year deal is fine, and like I said, I have no problem with adding water and sewer to serve that, because even at my house, our family hosts family reunions. Typically, when we rotate around, and typically we have family members that bring RVs from out of state, and they'll stay a week. And most family members have gone ahead and put in septic systems and RV hookups at their houses for family members to come in and spend a year maybe at their house.
You like your family more than we do ours.
That's not,
teasing.
I know that's just my family. That's not abnormal to have that. So, I would rather they came in and had a place to hook up where it was sanitary than them just come up and
Right.
park their RV and dump it out in the back pasture and hook a garden hose up to it. I mean,
Right.
which,
The other thought that I just had in you mentioning that is, do we want to just allow one? Because it's
Well,
not.
I know, I was kind of wondering that.
I think that, one per 20 acres, or do you want to do for that property owner, you can only have,
Well,
for one property, you get one conditional
well, your
use.
language said A.
A. It does.
I already thought of that.
It does say A, and so that's what I was going to hang my hat on.
Me
But
too.
you start doing these ordinance amendments, and you can start adding a lot of provisions in there, but it does say A, so
does.
I have that
I
to
think
go
that-
on as well.
Call these guys that will cut weed.
Maybe we should be a little bit
Travel.
more.
Do they have like 6 or 8 RVs?
normally we'll have 3, at the most 4, but, normally the owner has one, and then there's 1 to 3 for the hired hands. That make them kind of stack on each other. But, so there's usually no more than 3 even for large crews, to have. And a lot of times they'll park out on the farm and they'll hook up to a garden hose and they'll discharge wherever they discharge. Out in the country. So.
That's what we don't want to happen.
Right, that's why I'm saying, the opportunity to have a big system put in and a real RV hookup instead of an extension cord and a water hose would be, I think, better off for everybody involved.
Yes, I agree with you too. The question is, how many do we really on a farm that they need?
Yeah, I mean, there would be multiple if the people that were coming in was a custom crew. But I think maybe if you limit it to 1 per 20 acres, and
Yeah.
So change it from just 20 acre minimum to 1 RV
right, so
per 20.
20 acres, and that way,
If there was multiple.
yeah. Because you do see them a lot. They're parked in the farmstead or the edge of the farmstead, and they're all hooked up to electricity and water, but I don't know where everything else goes.
Take a big reserve tank.
Yeah.
So I don't want to push the smaller acreages because I'm kind of with Gord. I mean, we don't clutter our city up, but on the other hand, other than the farm and ranch, if one of your provisions is for that family member to come and stay with you for the last couple of years, or did that have an end date on it too? Yes, for 2 years.
Yes, 2 years. 2 years.
So if you're going to accommodate that, I'm just kind of surprised that we would say this only goes for landowners. That, if you own 5 or 10 acres, you can't. No one can come and stay with you to help care for you for 6 months.
Maybe that's what we look at on the other provisions we're looking at where it's applicable to any zoning district. Maybe that's where we discuss this.
Okay, I'm okay with
Because
that.
it's not related necessarily to the ag issue. It's for the rebuilding of homes, potentially, somebody to come in and stay for a period of time for care.
Yeah, and I kind of thought we had that as a city for some reason. I thought
we did for lots and lots. Because I can think of at least 2 that we voted on.
For
That we
have a medical provision.
Yeah, that's a medical hardship.
Still there.
Right.
I think for somebody that's wanting to come bring their uncle in, he's ill, you could use that either way and probably use the RV and address that.
I'm
It's
okay.
only for a mobile home.
For the use of, in the event of disaster, and the council declare a disaster. And at that
Yeah,
time, this
yes.
section.
We can wallow all that around when we get that other ordinance. Let's try to stick with the ag deal tonight and see if we can't get a resolution on
I
that.
can support that.
So have you written down everything?
I did. I wrote, so 1 RV or trailer per 20 acres. Add employees to the family blood or employees, farm and ranch employees, and take out water and sewer and allow that sewer tap to be permitted. And I think is what we'll do in the way that we'll process it. I said submit a letter to the planning department, but I think is what we'll have them do is do a building permit.
That's permit.
We'll just do a permit for it. That way we can track that water and sewer. Standardized. So we don't need to write that in the ordinance because that's something administratively, that's how we'll do it, is do a building permit. And then those are the 3 things.
Straight 2 years.
And strike.
No, just the 2 years.
Oh, just the 2 years, not do the
Not
6
reoccurring.
months. So for 2 years. And I understand what the planning commission is trying to do. It will.
I do too.
But I think that for processing and for timing and tracking, it does make something else for us to track. So I think 2 years, and it's temporary for 2 years,
Yeah.
and then we'll have that, just like we've been tracking the Board of Adjustment medical hardships for mobile homes. It doesn't allow RVs. It's a medical hardship, and you're allowed to live in a mobile home. It doesn't allow that use for RVs, and that might be something that we look at amending as well. And then also bring back ordinance amendment regarding natural disaster and use of an RV or trailer, and potentially maybe adding something there with building permits. If you're building a house, the only thing that I have some reservation about is people that are going to be like, and I don't see this happening, but you never know. Like an RF1, you've got a single family of 7,200 square foot lot,
Right.
and you say, well, I want to build a house, I want to live in an RV. While I built that, I have,
Yeah. Like to state a larger.
maybe that's the thing.
Yeah.
Usually that's not happening in RF1 anyway. It's more often where,
But
yes, anything is possible. So those are the provisions: is keep the 2 years, 1 per 20 acres, add employees, and must connect to available water and sewer or septic.
What? No. Allow new water. New water and septic.
we just strike the language. Yep. Yeah.
All right. Any other discussion? Have it there for 2 years, and then I guess they can remove it, and then they can apply again for another 2 years.
Well, I would say most transit people, if they're temporary workers, they aren't going to be there. Probably. Most fine.
What a family member may be.
Doesn't matter.
All right. Then I will make a motion for approval based on the things that Janae stated.
Second.
Motion second for approval of item number 6I.
Yes.
Marcy White.
Yes.
Mike Fullerton.
Yes.
Kimberly Sutton.
Yes.
Ron.
Yes. Item 6J, discussion of possible action to adopt emergency clause of ordinance number 978.
Make a motion.
Make-
Or, yeah.
Motion, no, the motion, I was second.
Second.
I made the motion.
Did you not catch that? I mean, geez.
Motion second for approval item number 6J.
Kimberly Sutton.
Yes.
Mike Fullerton.
Yes.
Jean Reed.
Yes.
Marcy White.
Yes.
Ron.
Yes. Item number 7, discussion of possible action on a request from the Newcastle Senior Citizen Center to increase the contribution of the city of Newcastle from $3,000 to $4,000 per month. You have a letter in your packet from Roy Wilson, who's the president of the Senior Citizens Group, requesting an increase of $1,000 per month. That is along the lines of the amount of contribution they get from the county. And Mr. Wilson.
You stayed here so long.
Yeah. But, I had a good long conversation with him, and I know he said he can reach out to some other council members and discuss it. Roy does a great job. The senior center does a great job. They're solely dependent upon contributions from the county, the city, and from fundraisers that they do, and do a really good job. You don't eat there, even if you're not a senior citizen, go by and have lunch there. They love for people to come in. But with the increased costs of groceries primarily, that's the reason why he's requested this, or the center has requested this. I think it's a great thing, and we have dedicated funds in the 30% of our half-cent dedicated sales tax. Part of that 30% is for senior citizens, youth, and other capital items. So I'm definitely in support of this. And Kevin has brought up the only request we may make of the senior center is they provide any future requests prior to April so we can get it in the annual budget.
Yeah.
Make sure that it's something we can budget for. And because this may impact Kevin's bonus.
Yeah. And his blood pressure.
Yeah. So, any comments on this? Nothing?
I think it's a good thing.
I think it's a great thing.
And yes, I actually reflected what you said to Roy when he called me today.
And I hear tell that fried chicken day is a good day to go down there.
Very good fried chicken.
It's Thursday, okay. All right, I'll make a motion to approve item 7.
Second.
Motion second for approval item 7.
Mike Fullerton,
Yes.
Marcy White. Yes. Gene Reed.
Yes.
Kimberly Sutton.
Yes.
Carl Nell.
Yes. Item number 8, discussion of possible action on approval of purchase of 3 2024 Chevrolet Silverado 25 HD double cab 3/4 ton four-wheel drive trucks on state contract for $52,884 each for water, wastewater, and street departments.
All three departments had a truck budgeted for them in their budgets this year. And, we do have, Carter Chevrolet actually has 6 of these on the ground, so we'll take care
Wow,
of them if council
really?
approves. Yes.
We needed a vehicle and it actually had some, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how many are actually coming back on.
All right, very
That's
good.
good.
And I remember when the good old days when city crews should drive around something that they just hope would make it through the day.
That's right.
So it's great when we
We've
can
come a long
provide these
way.
type of safe, usable
Mhm.
pieces of machinery and equipment.
I make a motion to approve agenda item 8.
Second.
Motion second for approval of item number 8.
Mike Fullerton,
Yes.
Kimberly Sutton.
Yes.
Gene Reed.
Yes.
Marcy White.
Yes.
Carl Nell.
Yes. Item number 9, discussion and possible action to authorize submission of hazard mitigation grant application for expansion of tornado siren system and purchase of sirens upon approval of grant.
The emergency management director has been working with the state on this now for about 2 or 3 months or so. Had some conversations about it as to when it was actually going to become available. It's not, I'm not going to say it's guaranteed grant money, but it's probably about as close as you can get. And this would allow us to put 3 more sirens into our system out there. I think he's actually budgeted enough in the grant to have a company come out and do a study for us to say this would be the best locations
Good.
for this next 3 sirens. So the total cost of this is just a little over $87,000. Of course, the city would have to pay for that up front and then receive 75% reimbursement. Of course, none of that will be done until we know we've got the grant coming.
Cool.
I
I think that's good.
We've had several citizens over the last few years say, when are you going to get a siren here? When are you going to put a siren in here? We have some locations that certainly could use some sirens now.
Yeah.
My guess is it's probably going to be the best locations within this study. But we need to know exactly where they need to be.
Good deal.
Good deal.
I like free money.
Do you need an approval for that or?
Yes.
Motion, I move to approve item 9.
Second.
Motion second for approval of item number 9.
Marcy White.
Yes.
Fullerton,
Yes.
Gene Reed.
Yes.
Kimberly Sutton.
Yes.
Carl Nell.
Yes. Item number 10, discussion of possible action on adoption of resolution number 2024-08, casting a vote to fill the expiring term of at-large trustee of the Oklahoma Municipal Retirement Fund.
I am assuming those nominees were put in your packet?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
I only remember seeing the letter from one, but maybe there was more. But anyway, do you know any of them?
I do not. Oh, and we're not a part of OMRF, at least in the fact that nobody participates in that retirement program.
Right.
But I told the city clerk, I still think it's kind of important that we maintain our voting and things of that nature.
Well, I may have missed the one I read. He indicated that he was the current one and he wants to serve again and city manager out west.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah. So.
And I do know him, actually.
Okay. Have you been there a long
Yes.
time?
Yeah, Robert's
A long time.
Robert used to be out of Frederick.
He did.
To go as well.
Yeah.
He's in Clinton now?
Yep. Good guy.
Yeah, I've seen him several times at different conferences and whatnot.
All right.
Well, I think Robert would be a good one to continue.
Okay.
His current
Yeah.
serving, so I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion second for selection of Robert Johnson, at-large trustee for our vote.
Julie Sutton,
Yes.
Mike Fullerton,
Yes.
Gene Reed,
Yes.
Marcy White.
Yes.
Carl Nell.
Item 11, discussion of possible action to approve agreement with the state of Oklahoma by and through the Office of Attorney General and the Oklahoma Opioid Abatement Board, and approval of claims for years 1, 2, 3, and 4, and partial year 7 from the distributors settlement agreement to expend for opioid remediation, and further directing the city treasurer to establish a separate fund for receipt of settlement funds, settlement monies, and expense line for disbursements.
I don't know that there is going to be a requirement, audit requirement, for example, on this opioid money. But I would rather be prepared for it than not to have that in a separate fund and then also a separate expense item. But this money can only be used for very specific things. And one of those is training your first responders in the use of or recognizing opioid abuse, or recognizing the use, where they've overdosed or whatever, and then using the medication, Narcan, things which we already do some of that. I think it would also provide for the purchase of Narcan if we needed that, which our police officers and fire department carries that. But there are a lot more uses that can also be approved. Now, we can bring those back once we start receiving this money. We can actually bring that back and say, and ask council, what do you want to use this for? And the reason or you can direct management to go ahead and pick from that list. But I thought it was important to bring this here for council to accept this, recognize it. It's about $34,000 roughly for years 1 and 2 that we will get up front, and then the others are $17,000, $18,000 a year. This stretches out all the way to year 18 potentially. So there's some money that'll be coming in here, certainly a lot less than other cities, but council, what was a year or two ago when we first looked at this opioid settlement, and council declined to actually participate in the suit and just said, give us whatever is settled, class action.
I remember that now.
So this is what has taken place, and that's the monies that we'll be receiving. So I thought it was important for council to approve this, acknowledge this, and then we, of course, establish the fund and a expense line for this when the money starts coming in.
Is there training or something for awareness for like our first responders on fentanyl? Would that fall under this?
No, fentanyl's not really an opioid. We're talking about hydrocodone and fentanyl is an opioid.
Well, I
don't know. Was it that abuse though, or was it the?
The only reason I'm asking is
I don't know.
Someone in the mailroom at a prison in California accidentally touched it and died last week.
That was.
And so I know, and so I'm like, if we can get people trained on, I don't know what recognition, I don't know. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible, and it makes me worry for our first responders because they're the ones who are going to see it more than just some random Joe on the street, And just touching it, that person died. It's awful. So if it falls under that, that would be great. If there's something that would, if they need it, I don't know what they need, but it's definitely a problem.
So you're asking to establish the fund, the account for it?
Yes.
Yeah. I move to approve item 11.
Second.
Second for approval of item number 11.
Yes.
Mike Fullerton,
Yes.
Gene Reed.
Yes.
Marcy White.
Yes.
Carl Nell.
Yes. Item number 12, discussion of possible action on approval of an authorization to enter into an agreement with Cedra Corporation for a 3-year period for GIS updates and maintenance of city maps.
Our agreement with Cedra will be expiring here fairly quickly, within the next month or two, and they've sent an agreement to us. Went up just a little bit, of course. It's been 3 years since we renewed this, but I tell you what, Cedra it's a fantastic company, and they respond quickly to anything. Camille is constantly sending them rezones. They're sending plats, and they get them in just about as quick as we can send them.
You like the way our online, interactive
Oh, I
map
love
books,
it.
etc.
It's so good. I feel so smart when I look at it. I'm like, we got a 6-inch line right there. I showed it to Jeff. Of course, he looks at it every day, you know, for the farm. And I'm like, I can read these. I know what I'm talking about now. And he's like, okay, whatever. Oh my gosh, it's so handy in the layers and stuff. It's fabulous.
Even with the increase, we could not get a GIS person
No.
on staff for that.
No. They're a hot commodity too.
And we hear constantly from people, developers, other people coming to town, how impressed they are with the ability to pull up the information they can pull up from our system on that mapping. They are amazed that a community of our size has that much information readily available as we do.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, hey, somebody call Bill and see what water lines are.
We soaked as much energy out of Bill's mind as we could before we retired.
Yeah.
We don't need a new bill, we've got sicker.
Well,
3250 for new thing.
Per month, yes,
For the next 3 years?
for the next 3 years.
That's
okay. If you're ready, I can make
yes,
a
ma'am.
motion to approve agenda item 12.
Second.
Motion second for approval of item number 12.
Gene Reed,
Yes.
Mike Fullerton,
Yes.
Marcy White.
Yes.
Kimberly Sutton,
Yes.
Carl.
Yes. Item number 13, discussion of possible action on approval of bid and award of contract, authorization to enter into an agreement, and issue notice to proceed pursuant to contract documents for new influent and effluent lines for new wastewater treatment plant. Item number 13A, award of contract for influent line.
Sullivan's Engineering is recommending the award to JAG for the influent lines. We can get to that. They're recommending award to JAG for both.
Oh.
But there's a piece here to effluent that I need to discuss with council when we get to that item.
I recommend we approve agenda item 13A for awarding it to JAG.
Motion second for approval of 13A, awarding JAG to underground.
Yes.
Kimberly Sutton,
Yes.
Marcy White.
Yes.
Mike Fullerton,
Yes.
Carl.
Yes. 13B, award of contract for effluent line.
The problem with the effluent line, and I got word of this today and then got an email about 10 till 5 from JAG. Basically, they bid this project, the effluent line. They bid the project based on a certain type of pipe that will be used for this and the thickness of it. And however, an addendum was sent out by Sullivan's to all of the potential bidders stating, no, this is the type of pipe that we need installed and it's this thickness, so on and so forth. They got the addendum because when we opened the bids, they had acknowledged the addendum in their bid packet, which they had to do by requirements. But apparently, the addendum was not picked up by Pioneer Supply, who supplies all the piping, things of that nature. According to Pioneer, through email, their email was down during this time, internet crash, and did not come back up for another 5 days.
It was that Microsoft strike thing.
Maybe. I'm not
Bet it was.
positive on that. But by that time, the bid opening, everything else had already passed. So on the effluent line, it will cost an extra $108,000 added to JAG's bid for the effluent installation materials. However, they also say that there are 2 other items that need to be looked at, and that's going to be a bore, or 2 extra bores, one under 16th Street, one under a driveway, concrete driveway over there, in order to run this in the direction that we want it to be ran. That price is not calculated into that $108,000. And they say, we will be totally open and honest with our pricing, things of that nature, as they get to that point. Now, that could be discussed with JAG through the engineers. When we get to that point, change orders can be issued. Right now, with 108,000, we're setting at $1,566,000 instead of 466, which is still the lowest bid.
Okay.
Total bid, 1,566, influent and effluent. That's still less than any other company that bid on this. However, we do not know where the bores are going to come in, what the cost will be on that. To bore a section line road and a driveway should not be very much at all.
Did the other bidders put the bores in though?
They bid it.
Did they bid the bore?
They did.
So on this bid sheet, there are bores that they bid that JAG did not bid?
That is correct.
So now looking through there, it appears to me that JAG's on the effluent line has an entry in every line. Am I missing that? The effluent line? There's no line that JAG does not have an entry in that the other groups do have an entry in.
No, they've entered everything.
So they did have the bores. There's certain bores that they and every other bidder bid on.
Correct.
So these must be bores that they're determining were not in the bid packet.
That's what they're saying, but what is confusing to me is they were going to go down the south side of 16th, cross Portland.
Mm-hmm.
Once they got across Portland, it's several hundred feet. Then they would bore diagonally across Portland to the northeast, and then take off again on the north side of Portland, all the way to the river. So I'm not real sure where they're coming up with 2 extra bores.
There's only one bore in the bid.
Well, and so they're going to have one across 16th. So what we have discussed, this is what Jim has pointed out, he thinks that it should come straight out of the plant, go straight north under 16th to the north side, and then head straight east, which they would have to bore Portland anyway.
Right.
So
2 bores.
and a driveway. I'm not real sure, unless it's the business that is on east of Portland. The what is that business over there?
The bird business.
No,
That's on the south side of 16th, isn't it?
It's on the north side.
On the north side. Oh, I can't remember that.
Is it that foundation company?
Yeah.
Anyway, I know they've got a concrete driveway comes out 16th.
I guess what I'm saying is we only have one bore in the bid. So if there needs to be additional bores of those, every one of these contractors would have to come back with a change order for the additional bores.
That's true.
So, I mean.
If we change the route on this.
If you change the route and cross 16th Street in any way.
Correct.
Because there's only one bore, and I'm assuming that's Portland.
Yes.
That's in the bid packet. So, what?
No, there would be 2. There should be 2 because even if they stay on the south side when they first take off, they're going to have to bore Portland, and then when they go a little further to the east, they're going to have to bore 16th to get on the north side.
There's only one bore in the bid that everybody bid.
Or are there 2 bores in the one line item?
Our engineer didn't have a line item for anything more than one bore. In the bid packet, or in the bids, there's only one bore.
I don't know how you get away from a second.
Unless the assumption was you stay on the south side of 16 all the way to the river.
Or cross after it goes.
You still have to go into Portland.
But you still have to go to Portland.
Well, that would be the one.
That's the
then.
one bore.
That would be the one then. Just
No,
one.
and the original plan was to go under Portland, go down a few hundred feet, and cross 16th to get to the north side.
That was not put in there. One of those bores was not put in there.
Well, then that was a mistake on engineering.
Yeah,
It's
so
not shown on the plans?
I'm sorry?
Was the bore not shown on the plans?
I haven't looked at it.
I wasn't in the bid packet.
And it was certainly discussed because there's more room and to stay away from,
Yeah, I kind of remember you saying that back
it
then.
needed to be on the north side.
So what I'm getting at is them saying that is basically pointing out something that each one of these other bidders would have to come back with a change order on.
That's true.
And also, and looking at this, they are pretty much around $618,000 cheaper than the next lowest bidder on the effluent line. So a $108,000 change or increase because of the pipe size will still put them in over about $510,000 cheaper than the next lowest bidder.
But they all bid one bore each, so that puts them on level playing field for that, you're saying?
For the bore parts.
For the-
This is for the
okay.
pipe, quality pipe, that's the additional 108,000.
Right.
So even though I don't like how things transpired as far as for
Right.
an email being down, everybody else bid the right pipe and they didn't. It's still worth $500,000 to the good
Correct.
by selecting JAG. Plus, they're going to be out there doing the
Yeah.
influent line already.
Yep.
I mean,
And
That's true.
I'm good with it as long as they all bid the same bore. Then, yeah, I think that still makes it kosher.
yeah, I don't know why we only have one bore on here if we're going to cross.
I don't either. It should have been 2. It has to be 2. Portland and then 16. We knew we were going to the north side of 16.
And I think that all they got was the 16th on the diagonal because they've got 245s in there.
That's it.
And they missed the
They
Portland
didn't
bore.
get Portland more.
And so, and that's it. There's only one bore in every one of these bids.
Yeah, that's all I see, 2.4.
Yep.
Yep.
And so, anyway, so JAG is
Should be
right.
fine then.
they point out something that we apparently missed. No, and so even with the proposed increase of $108,000, I think that it's still the most advantageous to the city because it's still around $500,000 cheaper than the next lowest bid of wind.
Even if we had an extra 100,000 for the board,
Mm-hmm.
we would still come out ahead.
So can we all approve the award?
As is, and then we will negotiate or not negotiate. We'll get change orders signed for the 108,000 and whatever these bores
Right.
are going to cost.
Okay.
Right.
And those change orders will come back before council as well because they're outside of our limit,
Okay.
I believe.
So on the recommendation, like if I do I mention the 108K or no?
No,
I
Okay.
wouldn't.
just selecting
Okay.
JAG. And
All right. So motion to approve JAG for item 13B.
Second.
motion second for approval of item 13B, selecting JAG underground.
Yes.
Kimberly Sutton,
Yes.
Marcy White,
Yes.
Gene Reed.
Yep.
Carl Nell.
Yes. Item number 14, discussion of possible action on adoption of ordinance number 979, establishing an earmarked fund for deposits to be used for construction of a new city hall and for equipment, furniture, and fixtures incident thereto, and establishing an effective date.
So rather than Jeannie and I talked about that, we actually talked about this for about the last year and a half, as we got closer to the end of the fire station. And we've had some conceptual designs done for new city hall, things of that nature. We're getting close to elevations, conceptual elevations, and how this is going to look. But we haven't established anything for a city hall. What we would like to do is take 50% of any excess sales use tax that comes in above what we have budgeted for 24-25. We actually talked about it continuing into the next budget year too, not stopping until we get to a point where we're okay with funding engineering, starting off, just kind of like we did with the fire department. So far this year, July and August of this year, we have brought in enough sales use tax that in a 2-month period, we could put back $50,000 already for City Hall. And then another $50,000 would go back into PWA to cover costs in that department as well, or in that fund. So that's what we're asking council to do is we were going to try to use Fund 11, but some extra cost, one little cost come out of Fund 11, which was the fire station, which took place in this fiscal year, so she can't use that fund. So she has to establish a new fund, Fund 17. Now, it's 50%, of course, whatever the 50% is. It could be $25 a month, it could be $10,000 1 month, whatever it may be. But the ordinance also allows us to do what we actually did with the grant cost share fund, and I think even with fire station fund at one point. If there is a really good excess at the end of the budget year, then potentially we can make a one-time transfer even at the end of the year of 250,000 work to build up that fund towards that project. Primarily, it's going to be the 25,000 or the 50% of the excess sales and use above budget, whatever it is we budgeted. So
Can those funds be put into interest-bearing accounts?
we can absolutely do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that's what you were saying.
They are interest bearing, I mean,
All the
But
others
like the
are.
CDs
Yeah.
we did.
So like all the others, this one would be, and so that's another upside.
Absolutely.
in our
Yep.
Yeah, we got to do something with those. The only thing is, I heard this morning, and I mean, have you checked on the percentages yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
I
I
don't
heard
know
this
how far
morning
out
that,
there.
well, I heard this morning CD rates are going down because Congress is talking about, or the Fed is talking about lowering interest rates.
Yeah.
So CD rates are going down. So if we're going to transfer those, they need to be done quickly.
I have to check, see how early you can close them. They expire on most of them are, the remaining, most of them are the 25th, but there's like 3 that are the 26th, because Brittany did.
And if there's any money that we think that's not in CD that we could roll into
Yeah.
6 or 7 months,
Before it
get
gets.
everything into something in interest.
I'll send an email tomorrow to find out how early they can be closed and what the new rates might.
I have no problem with this. We are literally, you guys, if you've been to City Hall,
Yeah.
we're out of space.
Yeah.
And, by the time we get to the point we can build the City Hall, we're really, really going to be out of space.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, we've got to, and this is very judicious like we did with other things, with the fire department, with wastewater treatment plant. Let's try to get this into our cash flow so we know that we can do this and it's not going to adversely impact our services to the citizens. So, great idea, and let's move forward.
I'm hoping, we kind of have a goal of maybe 3 years of doing this, and we start engineering. Engineering takes a year, potentially, something of that nature, and so that puts us 4 years out, and then maybe 5 to 6, maybe 7, we start construction. I may be here, I may not.
I was about to say, yeah.
But anyway, it's on the conveyor belt.
And the wind race, you can hang around and get your name on plaques. This is the plaques you need to hang around and get your name on.
Yeah, well, some people,
Anyway, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve agenda item 14.
Second.
Motion is second for approval of item number 14.
Jean Reed,
Yes.
Mike Fullerton,
Yes.
Kimberly Sutton,
Yes.
Marcy White.
Yes.
Yes. Item number 15, discussion of possible action from board's emergency clause, ordinance number 979.
Motion to approve agenda item 15.
Second.
Motion second for approval of item number 15.
Mike Fullerton,
Yes.
Marcy White.
Yes.
Kimberly Sutton,
Yes.
Jean Reed,
Yes.
Carl Nell.
Yes. Item number 16, discussion of possible action on approval of amendments to cemetery rules and regulations.
We had our quarterly meeting with the cemetery board, and we'd been talking for probably a month, maybe in a year, about needing to kind of do some keeping on some of the language that were in the rules and regulations. Most of the things that you can kind of read through, and we're changing it to the word city hall instead of the city clerk, because the city clerk does not do the transactions anymore. Changing the hours, the address of city hall, those type of things. Then some other things of changing some language, instead of saying seeing eye dog, saying service animals and those kind of things. Some of the major things that they had recommended removing was no longer doing a deferred payment plan. We haven't done that in, well, I don't know if we've ever, maybe once ever, and that would have been years ago. Because basically it allowed kind of a layaway program, but however, I don't know how we were going to.
Which was the term.
We were going to enforce that non-payment if someone's already buried there. So we wanted to kind of remove that.
No layaway.
Exactly. And then we also, another thing, language that was in there is the lot owner must call us every 20 years to let us know they still wanted their lot.
Are you kidding?
No. And so the only reason we even really caught that is someone actually in the last month called to let Star know that they still wanted their lot. And so that, I don't even know that we could legally take it away after we sold it to them. That language was in there. We've asked to take that out. With cremations, it wasn't written, but this is what we've been doing. If there was already a casket and then they wanted to do a cremation on top of it, we added, or 2 cremations in one spot. We've been allowing that for years, so we just made the language to do what we have been doing. And also, it had the language where if they were doing a second cremation in the same spot, then they had to pay half the value of the lot, and so they retracted that. It's just, you pay for opening and closing if you were to do a second cremation, since it's still one lot. And then no mausoleums. We've never allowed them, and so they just, I know, we had to get that just in time, so.
Yeah, that's all you changed for motorcycles.
Yes, it said no motorcycles. There's just little things like that were in there that, have come up in discussions over the years, so we just really wanted to clarify some of the things.
Good.
The other thing that was mentioned is the last time that there's been a change in the prices of lots was 2010. Blanchard recently increased theirs. Purcell's did in 2019. Tuttle did in the late 12 of 23. So everyone else has kind of increased theirs, and we have not since 2010.
What are we proposing increasing it to?
They don't want it to be so expensive that people can't afford it, because some of your larger cemeteries are even more, charging like $1,200 a lot and things like that. Blanchard went up to $1,275. They thought that was a little bit higher than what we wanted. The recommendation that was around $1,000.
What's it at right now?
Right now it's $750 for the lot, $100 for a one-time staking fee, and then it's $100 cremation opening or closing. Those are all the fees.
So much cheaper than Rest Haven. Holy smokes.
Yes. There's a lot of fees that some other ones charge that we don't charge those.
Golly.
I think it's Alvin's very reasonable.
That's great.
Yeah.
And we don't charge a different price for weekends or things like that. We try to.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Just on the stay of the weekend?
I mean, they might. They might. They have a hookup out there, so.
Is that $1,000 flat?
$1,000, and they would still have your staking fee of $100.
And what was the other fee?
Opening. It's a cremation. If you're just doing a cremation, there's $100 opening and closing.
For cremains.
Do you have to?
Closing if it actually passes, like $550.
But usually your the funeral home does that, pays that.
Do
Correct.
you have to have it professionally opened for cremains?
You want it to be professionally opened. Yes, you do.
Believe that we do.
The reason I say that is we buried my father's ashes in the middle of the tall grass prairie in Osage County in the 4-acre cemetery with a pair of postal diggers.
Yeah, I know. And that's I say that's
When
what
it's
people do.
if it's cremation, we actually have our staff. Typically, we just do that.
I just,
Yeah. We did one in Putnam, Oklahoma like that.
Yeah. No, our staff takes care of that, sir.
So what are the fees you're looking at, $1,200?
Well, you wouldn't do the cremation. That's only if you were doing like an opening and closing for a second, like a second cremation. So it's just the lot plus the one-time staking fee is all they would pay when they bought each lot.
So it's only
You
an
have to have
extra.
an opening and closing for a regular burial too.
Correct, but we don't charge that. That is between the, I forgot who we pay now. It's,
It's Anthony Backhoe, but I think his point is you still have that cost, whether it's to us or.
correct, but it doesn't, we don't pay that. It's with them in the funeral home.
I thought we actually charged that.
It varies. Sometimes we pay it and get reimbursed by the customer or vice versa, or sometimes it depends on who they use.
Correct. But
And what's staking fee?
to, the one-time staking fee of,
make sure you get buried in the right spot.
correct.
They come on the wrong holes.
I don't want some money back, just put it wrong.
That happens.
It does happen. It unfortunately has happened to us at our cemetery. It has. So we do our best to ensure that doesn't, though.
So, I'm not trying to be, so literally,
Grandma had to be moved.
we own the plot. So I own 2 plots out there now. And have they been staked or not staked?
You pay that staking fee, you pay at the time that you purchase your plot.
Right.
And then we'll stake it. So when we go to bury you, we'll go out there and stake that. It's already been paid.
Right.
Yes. and so your headstone. So sometimes your headstone will be later, sometimes you do a headstone before, that covers everything.
I just didn't know what that meant, staking.
Yes.
So that's not that doesn't occur again when you get ready to use the.
No, sir.
The plot.
That was it.
All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
I make a motion to approve agenda item 16 with the modifications as read by our assistant city manager.
Second.
Motion second for approval, item number 16.
Mike Fullerton.
Yes.
Yes.
Marcy White.
Yes.
Jean Reed.
Yes.
Carl.
Yes. Item number 17, city manager comments.
We had a couple of road issues because of the flooding we had yesterday. In Country Club Estates, we had an issue where it actually washed out underneath the road. Not too often bad, but we are going to cut the road out all the way across and make those repairs, put the concrete back. May Avenue, I think they closed it today. Or tomorrow, they're closing May Avenue because we did have an undermining take place out there on the old gravel road because of the flooding too. And that's one that's actually on the budget to pave this year. However, we have a couple of individuals who would rather not participate by easement, kind of contributing easement. So we'll have to see how it works out. I've been speaking with Jeff about that today as well.
Too bad.
We'll see how that goes there, but just a lot of different things going on right now, a lot. But anyway, it's all good. That's it.
It's not bad, only two little spots for comparison for how bad it was.
Oh, yeah.
149th and Meridian. Oh, it was a lake. Ooh, it was bad.
Item number 18, council members' comments.
I'll say the overlay in Little Springs looks good. I know they need to come back and dress up the shoulders a little bit. I know they probably have that in the works somewhere. We did have, I did notice this last rain that we had, I don't know if it was the backup of drainage or what, but just west of Rockwell there on Northwest 24th Street, there was just red mud all over the road. And of course, the Snows area had red mud all over our new paving.
It didn't look too bad on 62 down past the fire department after the rain, so that was good.
It rained enough to wash all the red mud that washed out on the road off the road.
That's the only thing, I mean, everybody in the neighborhood has been thrilled with it, that I spoke with. So, they're pretty happy.
Councilman comments?
Kevin, are you optimistic ODOT might look into that green arrow on Country Club?
Oh, yeah, I know
Turn
that.
Yeah.
Well, it's mid-states, and it's mid-states who'll look into it, it's us that'll have them look in.
Okay.
They've been out there once, street superintendent has been out there and said that arrow is perfectly fine.
The arrow never turns green.
There's never a green, you never have a safe time to turn. I've been watching.
Traffic today,
Yeah.
you get the red light, so you wait, and then both green lights go, but left turn.
Never.
Took two different green lights for us to get our everyone turned.
Because it's always a blinking. After you mentioned that, I started watching. There's only a blinking yellow ever. There's never a green arrow ever.
Green arrow.
Nope.
Yeah.
Not at all. I started watching it after you said it.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world, but
It's just a busy intersection.
what happens is you get antsy and you start looking for a chance to goose
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And
To frogger.
I'd rather us get a green light there.
Yeah. At least for just a little, just to let at least a couple cars through. That way you don't get stuck. But yeah, because they're flying through there, and you know it takes one 16-year-old to think, okay, that's it. I've been sitting here too long, and go and get hit. You know.
I'm late for school.
Right.
We'll have to
Just
come
be
back out and take a look at it.
there should be a safe green time.
Councilman comments?
You know, I didn't notice it till you mentioned it.
Item 19 is adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion second for adjournment. All in favor, say aye.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies.